Are we looking at ours as cat now?
Yes. Sorry, I didn't hear a damn thing you said.
All right.
And because I was a gazillionaire and I like doing it so much, I cut that price for free.
The species is dying, the birth rate is plummeting, women are chopped. But yeah, you know what? Get a fucking cat.
I know even more about grass.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Touch Grass with Theo Snodgrass. I'm your host, Theo Snodgrass. Wherever you may be, thank you for making me a part of your day. The panel is here with me. Say hello to the world, panel.
Hello, world.
Hello,
Happy
world.
Happy fuck off freeloader November. It's a beautiful time.
Yeah, question. So I was asking this in the back room before the show. Why are so many people with food insecurity so fat?
Because they
So
got
many
to have their snacks.
There's so many people who are trying to convince me they're starving, and they've just got these giant wobbling arms. They look like Trigglypuff. What's going on with that? Why are they so fat? Panel?
You know, they just can't give up their trans fats. When all they got to do is just dump their they, them, boyfriend, girlfriend, it friend.
Oh,
Well,
that's nice.
it's really none of them actually need it. Though most of them don't actually need it. Are there some people that do need it? Probably yes. But most people on it is, hey, let me have as many kids as possible and just live off of this so I don't have to work.
Well,
Yeah, the
some states
welfare
are,
queen is not a stereotype. That is a commonality across most of this whole apparatus. I'm sorry. And it's high time that we admit it.
and some states are way more generous with benefits than others. Like I used to live in Washington, and I knew people that were like strategic about working the system so that they basically got all their shit paid for and never had to do anything. And it was stupid easy. Like I lost my job for a bit, and I was like, and I got food assistance the same day. Like they didn't verify anything that I said. Like I could have been.
Well, it's not even just food.
About everything.
I know people just talking about the food stuff, but what about the people who are professional students?
Yeah, for real.
So they just keep going to community college for not like you never see them work at all, and they'll be at school for like 10, 20 years just doing these random classes, but they can keep getting loans and and grants or whatever.
Yep.
They just keep on riding the system like that.
And whatever debt they have incurred, which is sizable, they'll just recharacterize into something else, just pass off debt to different companies over and over and over again and live off that.
Yeah, also, we don't have debtor's prison anymore. So don't ask me how I know. If you have a ton of debt, you can just tell them to fuck off. And they'll be like, we'll hurt your credit. And then you can be like, oh, no, not my credit. Fuck off with that. And they'll eventually just stop coming after you. Because we don't have debtor's prison. They can't do anything to you.
I mean, maybe they could come after you with a lawsuit or garnish your wages, depending on what kind it is. Because if you
good luck. I would also like to garnish some of my wages.
I like to keep a lot more of mine instead of having my taxes go towards these fat asses who can't eat right and make responsible choices like get a fucking job.
Yeah, dude. Well, that's the thing. Is like, it's crazy. I think if you question any of this, then the accusation that's leveled at you is you're like an evil, bad, insensitive person who hates poor people or whatever.
Do you want people to
You know what's
starve?
great?
Yeah.
I live off of my income. I have an apartment that I pay for because I have a fucking job. I've got a shit ton of food I made last night and today because I have a fucking job and I'm responsible with my money. Could I have more? Yeah.
Right.
Would I like to have more? Absolutely. But you know what? I don't. So I make do with what I got. I put off pleasure because I'm a responsible fucking adult who was raised right. I make good decisions. I don't impregnate random bitches from the strip club, and I do not let other bitches from the strip club let me impregnate them. It's so easy to live a straight-laced life if you make good decisions, and only you are responsible for it. Nobody else, not my tax dollars.
Right.
You know, SpongeBob has the perfect meme for. Well, they have memes for everything. It's the one where they're with the chocolate bars, and I guess Patrick ate them all. And SpongeBob, but Patrick, you ate them all. No, I'm not. Now I'm going to starve. And they zoom in on him, and he's like fat and like everything.
Yeah, dude.
I'm more inclined to just go. You want to know what we need to bring back? Maybe government food. If we're, I know the NCAP side is not going to like this because you want to know what it should be just coming from their communities, feeding them, and it should not. And I do agree to a point. But if we're going to put some kind of money into it, then we have government ran food banks, and this is what you get. You get the basic necessities to be able to. It's supposed to be for nutrition. So you don't get your snacks. You don't get your high sugar content items. You don't get the stuff that is you get the stuff that is nutritional, because what does SNAP stand for? Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program. Not buy all this candy. Buy sodas.
I have the perfect video for this. It's 7 seconds.
Okay. Let's pull this up. What have we got here?
You took my only food. Now I'm gonna starve.
So true.
Okay, the other thing we're not talking about is how SNAP is just a big handout to large food companies who lobby the government. Because, like, what do people buy with SNAP? A lot of it is like soda and processed food, right? So
and they buy it in quantities that I can't even afford.
And they're also running they're also running cover for companies like Walmart. So Walmart doesn't pay enough. So part of, working at Walmart is
honestly, I think they do pay enough.
And well, I'm saying that Walmart employees qualify for food assistance, which allows them to pay less. And a lot of people on food assistance, where do they spend that money? At Walmart. So what I'm saying is Walmart kind of gets covered on both ends. They get the subsidies allow them to pay their employees less, and also a lot of that money just circles right back to them. So this is I know that on the left we like to say that, like, the point of these programs is to benefit poor people, and I guess what I'm saying is that's not really true. The point of the programs is to benefit large food companies that lobby the government and companies like Walmart that lobby the government. So this is actually just us squabbling over SNAP is actually covering up, like, rich people just handing each other money. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. It's a wealth transfer from people like Strider who pay taxes and to large companies like Walmart. That's actually what it is.
I just love how Strider it's Strider that's the one that's paying the taxes.
Right. I assume other people pay taxes also.
I
try not to.
Thank you. We might have to have a should you pay taxes debate.
The funny thing is, the funny thing is, especially we have. Well, I don't think anyone who actually pays taxes, which is just about everybody. I don't think anybody wants to pay more taxes. It's the people that do not contribute to society, that do not have jobs, it's the socialist shit-stained perpetual students who want you to pay more taxes because they think it's the moral thing to do. No, it's not. There's nothing more or less moral about paying taxes. It's just, if you can get out of it, wonderful. If you can somehow have enough donation, like charitable donation or whatever, to negate having to pay taxes, that's wonderful. But the people in power absolutely want more tax revenue. Why do you think they pushed for women in workplace all those years ago? They wanted a bit greater tax revenue, and they got it. And now we have an unsustainable society that doesn't want to reproduce. It's just a whole huge government conspiracy that shot them in the face, thrust them in the foot, whatever.
All right. Let's say hi to the chat real quick before we get too wrapped around the axle on this, because we're having a good time here, folks. Iron Oxide is here, friend of the channel. Good morning, losers. Howdy, fellow goated people. Thank you, Mr. Scott. Always a pleasure. Ronald, what's up, buddy? What up, retards? I love my chat.
So it's properly pronounced King Retards.
Gotcha. Happy day after Halloween, y'all. Scream Queen Selena's in the chat. Good friend.
Halloween's over.
We need to bring back penal colonies for all the unproductives. What's crazy is like, it actually, okay, so this is something I talked about a little bit on the last show. So C.S. Lewis has this idea that a Christian society is one that has really strong morals and family values, but also takes care of the poor. And actually, you need to do both, or if you don't do both, then the one you're doing is compromised, right? Because if you have a moral society that doesn't take care of the poor, then you're really not that moral. And if you have a society that takes care of the poor without morals, then you just have a corrupt society of leechers and selfish people who say, give me more Pringles, right? Because nobody's ever going to vote to give themselves less Pringles, right? Once you start getting free Pringles, once you get used to it, you're going to vote for that to keep happening, right? If they keep asking your opinion, would you like Pringles or would you like no Pringles? People are always going to vote in favor of Pringles, right? Like, so once you, unfortunately, maintaining a society that's like good and moral and worth living in requires some idea that everyone should be doing their best. And not everybody's going to be able to do the same stuff, but everybody needs to be doing their best. And if you lose touch with that, and you have all these entitlement programs, then you set up a situation where people are like in this situation, like right now, a lot of people are frustrated because we're seeing the people who are, at least the people who are going online to argue in favor of continuing STAP, are not making a persuasive case. Can we just say that?
Right.
They maybe did not send their best when they wanted to argue for this, right?
Well, it's always interesting that the people that they're using to demonstrate their point, they're not hardworking people who just maybe need a little bit of a leg up. It's not them. The people they're using to illustrate their point are the people who don't work. They look exactly like you think they do. They're about 80 to 90 pounds overweight. They've got 10 kids. They're clearly from some kind of bullshit ghetto, and they're always minorities. It's really strange the kind of stereotypes that they're choosing to trot out and be like, look, this illustrates our point perfectly. It's like, yes, that illustrates my point perfectly too.
So is this a little bit like a Rorschach test where you're seeing that and you're like, Jesus fucking Christ. And they're seeing that and they think that this is like on its face persuasive. Do you think you guys are just seeing it differently, or?
Well, they're the kind of people that just inhabit Walmart and have 2 or 3 carts full of stuff that is going to rot within a week, or is going to rot their kids' insides within 2 months.
Let me ask you something. Okay, what's going on here? Because I wonder if it's like, because like we see it and it's like, ugh. But do you think it's like do you think the left is virtue signaling here? Do you think it's like, look how much empathy I have? I have so much empathy. I have empathy for this person who's.
Well, I think
standing and why, of course, they're virtue signaling.
Well, I think it's 2 things. There, part of it is they do got good intentions, but they don't actually understand economics like AOC. And then you got the other half is like, okay, this is how we can gain control. So there's actually a good documentary called from Walter Williams, the late Walter Williams, Good Intentions. You can watch it for free on YouTube. It's about like 27 to 30 minutes long. And it goes through all the programs where, like, yes, they wanted to help Black people, but they don't realize the consequences of enacting these welfare programs in states.
Well, like LBJ quoted as saying, like, I'll have these N-words eating out of my palm for the next 50 years or something like that.
Yeah, the thing is I actually think they know exactly what they're doing. It's the guise of being supportive and looking out for the lower class, but all it is just enslavement to the government. It's just a new form of slavery that is just kept them. And you can see it because now you listen to these videos of these welfare queens. Doesn't matter if they're white or Black. They're out there saying that it's the taxpayers' responsibility to raise their kids and give them money. It's their entitlement. That's the biggest problem, is calling it entitlement, not welfare.
Right. Well, the thing is, because so those people, they're on the receiving end, right? So it's just the same thing. If you give what was it when they had like some chimpanzees they were testing on, where like they would reward one set with bananas or whatever, and the other set would have to like work at it to just even get one. And no, it was like they had like a set of bananas on a ladder, and then the Hassan people, what they would do is the monkeys that would try to go get the banana, they would shock them, and so sorry, I had to say that. But,
shocking animals is the Hassan people. I like that. Okay.
Yeah. So then they brought a different group of monkeys, and they took off the shock collars or whatever, and then the monkeys that never had the shock collars, they would just go get the bananas. But the other ones who did have it were so fearful that if they went for the bananas, they would get shocked again.
Yeah. So the point is, eventually the cage is in your mind.
Yeah.
And that's when they have you. I think that's the point. Like I said, I've known people like this that their whole existence is intelligently working the system, and they're getting all kinds of government payouts for all sorts of stuff, and that ensures that they never have to do anything except for periodically reapply for assistance. Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's the system working as intended.
Well, those people are spoiled just like a spoiled kid, right? So like anytime the kid does wrong, you just give him candy. So right, and then instead of like having an actual punishment and it's getting candy for doing good, all they know is just to keep on doing the same behavior to keep getting rewarded.
Well, but like also
happening.
And what happens if you do good, right? Because the Strider is perhaps colorfully expressing a very real frustration that a lot of people have. A lot of people who pay into the system.
Yeah,
and
well, when you do good, you just you don't get rewarded. You lose the benefits. So it seems negative. Because I think what it is, once they so say someone is on Medi-Cal or whatever, right? And once if they get a job and get out the threshold of what is considered poor, then they lose all the benefits, and then what they would have to pay is now that I have to get my own premium, but I can't even with the money I'm making now, I can't afford my own premium. It's just so it's like it's more beneficial for me just to stay on Medi-Cal as opposed to instead of trying to like uplift myself.
Yeah, and so this functions as a trap and not a ladder.
Yeah.
Right, because we'd like it to function as a ladder so that people can reach sustainable conditions. Also, like the other thing too is like having to deal with the consequences of your circumstances kind of encourages you to figure stuff out.
Yeah,
like in some ways, like shielding people from the difficulties actually prevents them from doing what they need to do to figure out how to do it on their own. I think the goal here, like you guys are saying, is to keep people locked into dependence on the government. Because if you depend on the government for everything, then they have control of your life.
Yeah. Well, it's like, what was it? If I know I'm always using like references, like a bird in a cage, and then it's just stayed in its cage his whole life, and then you try to free the bird, but the bird just keeps trying to stay. Because it's never known the freedom it could have had.
Yeah, that's not good. Hold on. I actually have a video for this. I have been looking for a chance to use this. Somebody sent this to me. So I'm going to play this. But yeah, this is exactly what you guys are talking about.
The government for the past 4 years. My husband.
We really need to bring back shame. What?
And I, neither one have had a job because we had children.
Isn't having children a reason to have a job? I'm so confused. Please enlighten me, lady.
And we decided we wanted to stay home with them and just soak in every moment. And so we haven't worked in 4 years. And
when you say you haven't worked in 4 years, you mean what? Like the entire presidency of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris?
And my husband told me yesterday we can no longer go out to eat on Sundays.
Oh, who fucking who?
Money aside, because Donald Trump's taking our paycheck away.
Salute to Donald Trump for taking his fucking. How you get a paycheck if you don't fucking work?
Because we get a government check once a month, and the more kids we have, the more money we get. So.
Oh, so it's like Pokemon. The more you collect, got it.
We've been having kids like nonstop for the past 4 years. We're up to 5 kids now.
This is
5
very.
kids in 4
My favorite part about this video is it's very quiet part out loud.
Yeah.
Like she's not hiding what she's doing. Like, and it's not like, and you can't, there's this like leftist obfuscation that happens a lot where they'll just be like, oh, well, no one's actually doing that. No one's actually cheating the system. No one is actually, these are people who need help. And it's like, no.
That's
let's not forget the leftist cycle of stuff. It's not happening. It's kind of happening. It's not happening, but it's good. But it's good that it's happening.
Yes.
It did happen. It is happening. It's not happening. It's just an endless cycle.
And we're gonna get into that later. I'm so glad you brought that up.
But that's what I'm saying. She keeps getting rewarded for not trying to do things on herself, her and her family, right? So the whole thing is like she's been trained that if I keep having children, she called it basically calling it her job is to have children. Right.
And remember, she didn't call it her entitlement or her, payment. What she called it, their paycheck. Donald Trump is taking away my paycheck.
Well, the other thing too is the same thing with the shame thing, right? The reason why there's EBT cards is because there was an embarrassment for having the actual slip, right? Where like you're holding up the line at the grocery store because you had a slip, and then that motivated a lot of people to be like, I do not want to be the one caught in line that we can't afford food. So I'm going to hustle or do whatever I have to do. So I'm not in this position, right? But with the card, it's just like any other debit card that anyone else uses. So it's real discreet. You don't have the shame of like, oh, maybe you were a person that actually needed it or whatever. But now you don't have the shame of people being like, oh, well, this person in front of me in line is holding up because they can't get the shit together or whatever.
Also, it's a level of accountability too, because well, then again, this is back when maybe we had a bit of shame. There was a bit of shame in realizing that if you're in front of somebody and you're using an EBT slip, there should be at least an element of, I need to be very careful about what I buy because this is how this looks. Because I'm using your tax dollars to pay for shit that I really don't need. And so I'm trying to be very, very careful and and at least have the appearance of being frugal. So
it's not even that. Like just in recent years, it's when they're like, oh, well, now you can get soda with it. Now you can use your EBT and go shop at Whole Foods. You don't have to go to Food for Less or whatever. And like this, keep adding stuff to it where it was like there wasn't. If you're on EBT originally, there wasn't that many options of what you can get. It was the bare necessities.
Yep.
And you keep it moving. Like you get some bread, eggs, milk, or whatever.
Right. But this is like I said, I think this is what I'm talking about is the sinister side to this is that this is rich people just like moving money around to each other. Right. Because if you can buy Coca-Cola products with EBT, Coca-Cola is going to make shit fucks of money. If you can buy like sugar cereal or whatever with EBT, then these are large food companies that are making money, and companies like Walmart who basically get all of it because that's where poor people shop. They basically so this is basically the government writing a massive check to Walmart every month. Because you think, oh, this money's going to poor people. It's like, nuh-uh, that money keeps moving. It does not stay in their hands very long.
Well, like with Walmart, if the guy Sam was still alive, he'd probably be against all that. But other than that, it was like the whole thing is that Walmart probably doesn't care. Like whoever's the CEO is like, wait a minute, they might even be very against food stamps, but why they're going to complain if they're getting more money off of it? You're just doing the work for them.
What I'm hearing overall is that Theo, to punish the government, punish companies for feeding into the circulation of money that is happening because of the SNAP program. He's fine with the looting that is going to happen because you know what? It will only hurt the companies that were already profiting off of the SNAP and just recirculating money.
Well, I disagree.
Or am I wrong?
I disagree a little bit.
I'm just throwing that out there. No.
Well, because Walmart's actually one of the companies that like they partner with their local police and sheriff departments for Like you can just go and watch on YouTube. I get addicted to them, where I just watch people getting arrested at Walmart for shoplifting. So,
oh yeah, no. Posted up at the Walmart I shop at. It's 2 sheriff cars all the time. They have 2 sheriff's deputies that are at Walmart.
Yeah, they Walmart is one of the few companies they actually partner with like local sheriffs and police departments to like be fast reactive. But what we have seen too is some companies get punished for it. Remember the videos back in the day where of the Target employees tackling people running out with shit?
Yeah.
And then places were like, no, you can't do that. And they're like, what do you mean you can't do that? They're stealing. Home Depot's making all kinds of different security measures so you can't just walk out with tools and shit or whatever. It's just
my question is that with the SNAP program in general, because it's become so prolific, so many people are using it, is this not the cost of food not going up a result of essentially kind of like the student loan program when it comes to tuition, because it's backed by the government? Is that possibly increasing the prices of groceries in itself, that it's artificially inflated? Because you got all these people that are taking SNAP, it's just coming from the government anyway. So,
well, I think when it comes to the food prices, remember we were forced to stop drilling and all. We're kind of in like the phase of like trying to recover from that. But not only that, we're still living with a government that like taxes us so they can have lizards running on treadmills and try to have so-called money that they don't magically know for Nigerian transgender surgeries or some shit. So,
but yeah, this is like, I think what you guys are kind of getting at is that a lot of government money is like, Doge revealed this, a lot of the government money is just money laundering.
Yeah. So well, like it's no different than the when you go to an art studio and they're selling someone cut the strand of their hair and rubber band it to like a toilet seat cover and selling it for like $5,000.
Yeah. It's like, well, it's like this. It's like Emerald's right in his instinct that like, you're just not nearly as careful about checking the prices of food if somebody else is paying for it.
Yeah.
You know, you're just not. And so I get it. It's like, and so how much, if you're asking how much of food prices going up is because a lot of people's food is subsidized by the government, it's like, shit, man, if you got 40 million people on food assistance, that's a significant amount. That's a non-trivial amount. So it's like, yeah, that probably is going to drive the cost of food up the same way that that subsidizing student loans drove up the cost of education.
Well, shoot. And so if it was up to me, there would be no food stamp program. There's enough churches, and if you're not with the church, there's Muslims got their own little thing. I seen it. There's charities, there's soup kitchens. It's not like people just stop caring. There's actual facilities you can go to if you absolutely need help without going to the government.
So by the way, I want to get at this. So what is going on? Because you guys mentioned this too, like everything being locked up at stores now in a way that it was, and theft being so much more common. Yeah, what is driving that? Is some of this like self-checkout, or is this like...
No, even before the self-checkout. Like I used to have a friend that worked at Rite Aid in California.
Yeah.
And it was they could get in trouble for stopping someone from stealing. So they were told that, hey, if you see someone just digging in the getting beer and stuff and just walking out, just let them, because then you're going to get in trouble if you dare to stop them.
It's liberal government policies that have been at the local level, because the whole point that I do think theft has definitely really gone up. But when you look at like California policy, that you have to steal over almost $1,000 for them to even be willing to prosecute. So that just incentivizes more theft, because walk in and take what you want because nothing's going to happen. And then on top of that, employees are going to get punished for intervening.
Well, because even still, like, think about it. The big businesses we're complaining about, they feel when you steal from them. Like, why is they're complaining about food deserts and they're petitioning Walmart to stay in their stupid location or whatever. Yet they're going to tell you, oh, we got to get these criminals a slap on the wrist. Like, what's the punishment? So, but yeah, I think that's what it is. Is just, hey, oh well, we can't file a police report because the tool they stole was $950 and not $1,000.
So, let's check in with the Rumble chat real quick. Actually, while I'm thinking about it, let's see what we got here. Oh, Mr. Scott Awesome's in the chat. Just ignore the cat on my head and the cat and the enemy in the background. No weirdos here. Do liberal church? Oh, this is a good question. Do liberal churches preach about repentance as part of salvation? If they do they just preach about it? It's in the sense of social guilt. Can we just turn vagabond into a chimera? Yes, I am in favor of that. I actually want to talk about this like liberal churches thing because this is an interesting idea. So progressive Christianity is a motherfucker. I have way more issues with them than I have with like almost any other group. Like that's more than the transes, more than, because I don't really have anything against like trans. Like if you want to like dress up like a lady, that's your business. Like I don't really have anything like innately against them. But this question about do progressive Christians preach repentance? So this is where we get this idea that Jesus is this like magical hippie who just loves everybody and hugs everybody and like doesn't criticize anybody. And they'll actually say that like the letters of St. Paul, this is going to be meaningless to my secular audience, but they'll actually say the letters of St. Paul, which is part of the Bible, is bad. They'll be like, I'm uncomfortable with this passage of scripture, so I'm going to interpret it differently. Or they'll say that like St. Paul was like a bad guy and that he was basically made Jesus's teachings more conservative, and that he was like homophobic and sexist, and so we should disregard the letters of St. Paul, which is, by the way, heresy. So just flatly, that's wrong. That's wrong. We used to light people on fire for doing stuff like that. We don't anymore.
Well, it's not even
because
just
the Pope is soft. Go ahead.
It's the same thing with I think it's just been going on even before the Boomer period. How many people want to interpret the Second Amendment their own type of way to say, oh well, they totally ignore it in shall not infringe. They're just like I'm going to take the parts that don't agree with how I feel emotionally and ignore them. And so, but the problem with that is that what that means is your concept of God is just whatever your intuition is. There's no, and the same with like you're talking about when you're talking about what is and isn't constitutional. It seems to just, there's no, I don't get the sense that on the left they have any sense of like there's a hard standard for what's constitutional. What's constitutional is what they want to do, and what's unconstitutional is things they don't like. I don't think there's any like hard and fast. I feel like there's a big resistance to hard and fast standards. Honestly, I don't think they're actually Christians. I think they're putting on a front.
I don't either.
I agree.
Because basically, if you make it a religion, you got a lot of exceptions in society, and I think it's just a ploy. Like, hey, we get these benefits and we get tax write-offs and all this stuff if we say we're a part of a religion. And I think what they're doing is, hey, if what's the biggest religion in the United States, they probably less likely to deny, and that's Christianity. So let's just say we're Christians, but we're going to throw out all the shit that we don't believe and do what the fuck we want. I think that's what it is.
They're super sneaky about it because they'll be like, we're going to I actually follow the teachings of Jesus. Right. Like they'll have a sneaky way of framing it.
It's just gaslighting you. That's all it is. It's they don't believe, and take it from the guy with the anime shit behind him. I'm not that religious. I like Gooner material or whatever. But like at the same time, I'm not going to bullshit you or whatever. Have I read the Bible? Yes. But at the same time, I'm not going to like try to lie to you and like, oh, I'm the greatest person on earth. I'm probably not. But what these people are doing is they're just gaslighting you up front. I think they just don't care whatsoever. It's the same thing with the people who are like gays for Palestine or whatever, and then you're like, well, don't they throw gay people off of roofs for Palestine? Isn't that counterintuitive? And they're like, they act like you're making up bullshit when it's actually fact.
Is there anything we could do about this? This vibes based politics we're doing, because that's what I view progressive. There's no meaningful religious practice to it. It doesn't bear any kind of meaningful resemblance to actual Christianity. So it's just being a leftist.
Well, I think there is a solution to this, and just don't engage. Don't.
I don't think it's the don't engage. It's the government's involvement. They're getting benefits by claiming they're Christian. That's what it is.
Yes.
Well, yeah, but it's a wolf in sheep's clothing aspect of it, because they're sitting here putting all of this leftist indoctrination and everything else and saying, well, you're now just attacking Christianity, or you're not a Christian, when they are clearly, it's like, well, yeah, but the thing is like the Bible teaches and pushes that you love the sinner, but you hate the sin. And these churches are coming out and going, we're inclusive and accepting. And it's like, that's not Christianity. Yeah. You don't condemn. I mean, you don't condone the sin.
The key is do not argue their points. Like, don't try, because there is no arguing their points, because you concede that maybe their point might have a bit of truth to it, when it's been increasingly obvious just in the past 10 years that it's nothing but performative leftist seeker friendly nonsense. And that is because all they're doing is just leaning towards trends and leaning into trends. And honestly, we have the church from the 90s to blame for that. So a lot of Gen Xers that started there, and you're seeing a lot of the same kind. You're seeing a lot of those same people, those same religious leaders, those same pastors and thought leaders that I followed at one point, be like, well, now I'm rethinking I'm rethinking my faith. I'm what was it? Not breaking it down. I'm deconstructing it, which basically means I have no basis for my actual faith, and I'm actually just leaning towards leftist trends. Because it's also not. I don't think it's also not a coincidence that the majority of the people that are deconstructing their faith, they're doing it because of the gays. They're doing it because of specifically leftist politics, of which homosexuality is 100% tied into it.
And that's
the thing is, you can't even acquiesce to their point, because it's from a faulty foundation in the first place.
Well, we got examples of this, right? Rachel Dolezal pretends. Okay, there's all these benefits, be Black Lives Matter and stuff, or whatever shit is. So what this white woman do? Pretend, since she's like, her features are racially ambiguous, she just did up her hair and stuff to kind of look like a super light-skinned black woman that could be passing, and just went off her day, ignore who her parents are and shit. And that's that. It's so all the benefits. Did she become like the leader of the NAACP at one point or something?
Oh, she is a jewel of my city. She's the jewel of my city.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it is.
She's reminded everyone's hometown. Yeah.
It could have only happened in Washington, because it's those blue-pilled leftist cities who will never ask for your credentials. They will just because, especially if you are a minority, they'll just immediately take your word for it because racism or something. I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's the same thing that these progressive churches are doing, like where they got rainbow flags and stuff in the church, which is probably blasphemous, but it's the same thing. They ride along the line of being a religion. They get, and the government gives them benefits like no tax. Honestly, there should be no taxes in the first place for me, but but that's all they're doing is like, hey, we can get these benefits. It's like the people who start making like the what was it, like the 90s and 80s, where people were making up fake religions just to get tax write-offs and shit.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's been all throughout modern history, though.
That's what I'm saying. There's a benefit, and whatever the process is, it's easier to be like, hey, we're just a different sect of Christianity, because Christianity has more different sects than a lot of other things, right? I mean, of course, there's Islam, but they have Sufi Muslims, whatever Muslims, they're all the same to me. But
they all hate each other for some reason.
But that's what I'm saying is it's just a ploy. The government's involvement in there is and then it creates the whole boundary thing. And the same thing is, and the other problem is we got people who bow down to this. Look at Snoop Dogg. 1 second he's complaining about gay shit in movies for his kids, and the next thing now he has a children's show with all the gay shit in it.
Mm. Well, it's also interesting. Anybody remember that right after Trump's inauguration, he went into that Episcopal service. Which, by the way, I'm sorry if you're part of the mainstream Episcopal church, you need to rethink your attendance there, because they're nothing more than leftist mouthpieces. But she's sitting there lecturing Trump about the Sermon on the Mount and serve the poor and all that, just lecturing him and saying that you shouldn't make gay people feel bad. It was just nothing more than female nagging from a pulpit. Which, by the way, female pastors, sorry, that's unbiblical. But it turned out a couple months later, and this is important because I was actually in a very progressive church, didn't realize it at the time. So about a dozen of my fellow church members or leaders were retweeting this, being like, "See, look how bad Trump is. He's actually turning his nose up at the Sermon on the Mount, what Jesus is saying." And it turns out the whole reason she's bloviating about the gays and the immigrants, and especially illegals, by the way, only illegals, is because she has a government sponsored illegal charity where it's an immigration charity, which we all know, if it's left, it's all illegal, trying to get lawyers and stuff to try to get these illegal immigrants into the system faster. She had a whole thing about that, and then when that came out, all of a sudden she went dead silent. Nobody was talking about that anymore. It is clear as day the marriage between wokeness and religion is nothing short of political, because they can get more money from it and more social clout, and thus more attention, more attendance from the wrong people, like gaming companies.
And that's why you were seeing a decrease of people either saying they're Christian or attendance services going down, where you have the younger generation now are returning back to the church. And on top of that, where are they going? Orthodox Catholic masses. They are going old school, because that is Christianity. That is as it's being produced and shown, not this modern mutated garbage wokeness in the church.
Yeah, well, it's very easy, because if you are purposefully and intentionally standing your ground against what the rest of the world is trying to push on you, you can probably trust their integrity and their intentions more than you could like any one of the mainstream Episcopal or Methodist church. Because again, if you're hanging rainbow flags in your sermon and you're covering up crosses and whatever, which they are doing, you can probably bet that there's some kind of political or financial advantage to doing so. Whereas like a Catholic or even some the specific sect of Lutheran churches, they're not like that. They are very orthodox. They are very traditional, and they're hanging on to that. It attracts a lot of, you can probably trust their integrity way more, because you don't get any social benefit by standing against the mainstream culture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually think, this kind of leads to something I've said a lot, which is actually wokeness is a competing religion.
Oh yeah.
It's not actually, it's so you can't like, progressive Christianity is just Christian churches that have been taken over by wokeness. That's why they replace all the symbols in there. Like you're talking about the rainbow flag and the, creeds of inclusion and all this shit. They just start changing stuff. And I think if being a Christian is indistinguishable from leftist politics, then what the fuck is why not just be in leftist politics? Like, why go to church? What's the point? I think that's religion is supposed to offer something different. It's supposed to also, like, theoretically, if you have a functioning political system, you should be able to have, political disagreement within the same congregation. Like if you really kind of have to have one political perspective in order to sit in the pews, then it's probably not talking about universal themes. It's probably not talking about like universal human experience. Like it's appealing to something different. It's crazy because like, I think whenever I talk to like people who are like very progressive and have like a hippy dippy kind of approach to Christianity, where Jesus was a really cool guy who hugged a lot of people. He he was really nice to prostitutes. So why would you engage in slut shaming? It's like he also said, "Go forth and sin no more." Like he's very critical of behavior while at the same time showing compassion for people, and that's a balance I have a hard time striking, because if you do that, you have to think in terms of nuance, and then religion becomes difficult. Like if there are actual standards for your behavior, then practicing the religion becomes difficult. And I think what progressive Christians are trying to do is they're trying to get all of the feel-good vibes of being religious without any of the icky work,
I mean, I'm not a confessional Lutheran, but yeah, I appreciate it. I've thought about it, actually. Either Catholicism or Lutheranism. I don't know. I'm not.
Here's the thing. Okay, here's the advantage. The advantage that I'll say this in favor of the traditional church. Over like with Protestant churches, the doctrine is changing day by day, and it's being actively written by the people who run the church now. The Catholic Church isn't like that. So the doctrine is old and it doesn't change a whole lot. So
I'd push back on that a little bit, because the Baptist Church has remained pretty consistent for the most
but is the Baptist Church not inundated by female pastors and rainbow flags?
Yeah, that it is the one
it
that it
depends.
seems to be kind of changing a lot more, especially in certain areas. I'm not going to say it's the
Right.
Baptist in general across the country, but it is definitely, there is a weed that is in the Baptist Church that has been kind of allowed to grow.
Yeah, the Southern Baptist leadership has certainly been infiltrated for sure, but I don't think a lot from my experience, because I go to Baptist church. From my experience, you're not seeing that in the rank and file normal community churches. You really don't. And maybe like these big old ones, maybe there are some, I just haven't seen them, but the leadership has most certainly been infiltrated. But I don't see that. It's not bled into the rank and file members yet.
Also, the other thing too is, I'll just say this: if your church is less than 500 years old, I don't care about your opinion. Because I don't know if you're going to be here. I don't know if you're going to be here, bro. Like, how many fucking?
I can't convert you to mine. I started a new sect.
It's like, bro, where's the longevity? I want that career longevity. I want to see that you can survive a fucking crisis. How many?
The Baptist Church has been around. The Baptist Church has been around in the United States pretty much since its inception, and you are correct. And I'm not trying to defend Baptist churches, whatever, but they were very instrumental in the push for abolition, and so I kind of appreciate that history. There's actually kind of a proud history there. Only about 200 years, not 500, but still, the point stands.
Yeah.
Well, here's the other thing too. Like, the only way churches should be inclusive is not because they agree with you, but they're like, hey, I don't agree with your lifestyle or whatever, but maybe if you come to my church, maybe the word of God might change your mind or something like that. Other than that, that's the only inclusivity.
Yeah, this is actually important. You're supposed to change for the religion. The religion isn't supposed to change based on your political intuitions. You're supposed to change. Actually,
and that's what we're seeing a lot, and that's the political infiltration that's occurring within the church, in Christianity in general, with the pride flags and stuff like that. Again, it's the wolf in sheep's clothing, and again, it goes back to the whole point that they're not following the teachings, in the sense that, because you brought up earlier with the prostitutes and Jesus, like, yes, because he said, "Go forth and sin no more." That literally is, he embraced the person. And he loved the sinner, but did not love the sin. You don't condone the sin.
And then that's exactly right. My favorite argument that people use is like, well, when I go to church, I see people who behave badly. It's like, yes, that's the only people who are there. That's the only people who are there. Yeah, everyone behaves badly. And then the point is to be self-reflective about it and try to do better next time. Actually, everybody sucks. That's the whole point. That's the bag. Everybody has a hard time. Everybody behaves badly. The problem is, I think, with the progressive Christian, is they say you're behaving badly, and that's okay. You're a human. It's just a little treat. It's self-care. Love yourself. Anytime I hear somebody talking about self-love, I'm immediately skeptical. I'm like, I don't. Why? Like, look, self-respect. I'm for. Like treating yourself like, okay, here's the thing. This is the other thing too. So I'm Catholic. So when I say love has a definition, and it's not butterflies. It's selflessly willing the good of another person. Right. So to love yourself would be to act in your own best interest. Treat yourself like someone, you're responsible for taking care of, treat yourself like someone you like and respect. I'm all for that. That's not what progressives mean when they talk about self-love. They're like, I believe that I am amazing. And that's something different than, and what's crazy, I saw this video. I keep talking about this video. I hope the algorithm fairy sends it back to me. It was this woman talking, and she was saying, men feel the need to test their resilience a lot by, doing really hard workout challenges and stuff like that. I don't need to test my resilience because I just know in my heart I am resilient. And anyone who's cultivated resilience knows that's not how it works. It is a muscle. So it requires, if that muscle atrophies if you don't use it, and you have to keep working at it. Resilience must be built over time. But that's the difference fundamentally in the progressive perspective versus the grounded in reality perspective is that I can manifest this by, speaking it into existence. Like I can but it's about their moment to moment emotional experience, right? It's not grounded in any kind of reality because they believe reality is shaped by how you speak about it and how you can manifest it just by repeating it to yourself. You can make yourself believe that it's true. But that's not how building confidence works. That's not how building competence works. They're trying to have the benefits of hard work and difficult experiences without having to have any of the hard work and difficult experiences. And I think that's the thing that pisses people off, people who've actually done things. I think that's what makes people mad is like, you can't, that's not how things are.
Well, no, see, I don't have to prove a thing. I know in my head that I can do this stuff. Like, I don't need to prove that I can lift 300. I know in my heart and my head that I can lift 300. I don't need to reinforce it by actually doing it.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy.
But ultimately, why? But the question is, why would you want to do that if not to just be performative?
Exactly.
Not to demonstrate to everybody else, here's how much more amazing I am than you are. And you have to get up to my, and I don't have to adjust to your objective standards. You have to adjust to mine because I say so. That's all that is.
You think that's what's going on with this idea that like objective standards are racist? Because they were throwing that around for a while. They were saying objective standards are a European white supremacist social construct. And it's like, no, but they're like really useful though for making sense of the world. I won't even dispute that, like the idea of shaping objective, measuring objective reality and stuff like that is, I mean, you need that to do science. So, right. So the Arabs figured that out, right? Because they were doing science, but like that is
algebra for God's sake.
Yeah. So I feel like they figured, so I don't know. I guess I'm having a hard time with this idea that like objective standards are like, white supremacist. I think it's just like you just like need them if you want to make reality make sense. That's what I think. Am I crazy? What's going on?
Well, what's so funny is that whole philosophy died the instant it showed up because nobody actually believed that.
Yeah,
and because it doesn't work. You can't run a society like that. You can't have any foundation in anything. You cannot anchor reality in anything if there are no objective standards. And probably like public school math is probably that same way. And how many people have been allowed to graduate college who can't even write a goddamn essay? But it's nothing more than essays. Yeah. I mean, the only reason I graduated college with the marks that I had because I could write worth a damn because I was trained that way because I knew my talents do not lie in math and science. I'm a creative writer, and so I was able to do that. And so, I mean, you can still work within that framework. You can still work within an objective reality framework and still try to adapt yourself to it to achieve your goals. The world doesn't need to change to accommodate you. Now, granted that you do have a little bit of freedom in how you obtain those goals and how you adhere to the standards that are set, but that doesn't mean the standards have to change in order for you to succeed. It just means that you have to work a little harder in one area, and it's not difficult. It's just lowering the bar for people who maybe cannot reach it, and there are going to be people who cannot reach it, who cannot adhere to that standard. And I'm sorry, that's reality. Them's the breaks, and to try to deny that is ludicrous.
Okay, but this is the thing is like, so their perspective, this is the other thing. They have a series of beliefs that all interrelate to each other, that are all fly in the face of reality. And one of them is the blank slate.
Ugh.
Like everybody is basically the same, and it's just life experiences that matter in terms of there's no nature, it's only nurture. So they would, because of the blank slate belief, right? That's what then empowers them to say, well, you only have everything you have because you're privileged, right? You only have the talents, abilities, whatever you have because of things that affected you after you were born into the circumstances you were born into. And if you had taken somebody else out of those circumstances and gave them the same life as you, they would have, the same or better outcomes. And the reason they can say dumb things like that is because they believe in the blank slate. And that's not true. Anyone who's ever met a baby knows that some of them suck, right? Like some of them are just like that. Like they're just, people are different, like right straight out of the package. People are different. We know that. So
no, there is no blanks. I mean, because there is no blank slate. Everyone does come into, again, within Christianity. I mean, you already have a soul. You already are starting to develop that right from conception. So therefore, your personality is already starting to form. Your life and your truth is already adjusting to experiences. And yes, more experiences well adjusted. But if you look at some people that have come out of really tough, really hard experiences, well, you look at the person from the exact same neighborhood. One ends up going to jail or prison and lives a life of crime, and the other one becomes successful.
And it's like
they had the same environment.
Yeah. It's even more true than you realize. Think about this. You could have identical twins who grow up in the same home with the same parents and have completely different lives. And that happens, by the way. And sibling, how is it that siblings grow up in the same home? If economic experiences, what school you go to, what neighborhood you grow up in, what the family's like, all that stuff, if that is as impactful as they say, and it is impactful, I'm not shitting on that. But if that is as dispositively determinative, if that is the main thing that makes you what you are, how can two siblings grow up in the same house and have different, have completely different outcomes?
I can actually answer that because my brother is a bit of a leftist. I wouldn't say he's a psycho leftist, but he's kind of there. And
sure.
Again, we grew up in the same house. It was more of a center right. Mother was more conservative and stuff like that. Dad was not so much. But he grew up to be a leftist, and I'm a constitutionalist. I'm to the right. And I think it reinforced it when he went to college, and on top of that, married a liberal woman. So I think that reinforced and continued to break him further away from what was upbringing. So it just shows you that even in upbringing, we see it too many times too, even in upbringing of a right-leaning or conservative household, you still have liberal children. So yeah, environment and even upbringing don't fully going to dictate how the children are going to be.
But
but it's so much easier to say tabula rasa because that's the blank slate. It's so much easier to say that because then you have an excuse for all of your educational nonsense. You have your excuse. But it's interesting.
Yeah,
everybody's a blank slate except for the gays. So you were
that's
born
weird.
that way. You can't be changed that way.
Yeah,
like, make up your mind.
And if you're born trans, but you're a blank slate otherwise, and it's like, okay, and that's how you justify these ideas. Like everyone has a right to a college education. It's like, no, not at all, not remotely. College is not for everyone. It's like, but that's mean. How could you say that? It's like, well, because like some people can't fucking do it. And if it's gonna be worth a shit, it has to be so hard. Some people can't do it, or it's not worth a shit. And also it has to be like, also people should do other shit besides just college was supposed to be for like a relatively small percent of particularly bookish people to go into certain professions. That was what college was always for. And everybody else did some other shit. They were like, I'll be like a blacksmith or whatever.
Yeah, bring back apprentices.
Yeah, dude. Like, just go, like, there's just like others, like, not everybody wants to do that. Like, not everybody wants to, some people want to, cultivate a skill. I blame Gen X for this.
And some just want to just lay on their back, spread their legs, have a bunch of kids, and expect the government to take care of them for the rest of their lives.
Yes, not good.
And they never bother to think, where does that tax money come from? Oh, right, your neighbor.
All right.
Oh no, it gets worse is because the entitlement them with that saying that it's actually the taxpayer's responsibility for them to go out there, break their backs, and then support them so that they can be dead asses living at home.
Yeah,
kids, and expecting that they'll never actually have to do any hard labor themselves.
You know what's so funny? I actually got done playing the first BioShock game, and I never beat it before. And 20-year-old game, and it starts out Andrew Ryan, this Ayn Randian business mogul, is a man not entitled to the sweat of his brow. Knows as the man in Washington it belongs. No, as man in the Vatican it belongs to God. Knows as the man in Washington it belongs to the poor. Like how true is that?
Okay, to some degree for this, because Sammy's bringing up a good point, you probably need a degree to be a blacksmith. It's like, yeah, it's like what we have to
certainly help.
Like Gen X has a lot of responsibility to shoulder for this because they were the ones that told millennials, it's like, hey, do you want to be a garbage person who has useful skills, or do you want to be an awesome sex genius who works on a computer? Go to college so you can have air conditioning. Like, that messaging was fucking terrible because now we have a huge shortage of like skilled labor in this country. And those guys like disproportionately pay into this because they're not only are they maintaining the infrastructure, but they're also making the income that causes them to have to pay taxes. So they're maintaining the infrastructure and paying for the infrastructure and getting constantly shit on by media narratives. What the fuck?
Well, I mean, it goes.
It even translates into the computer. It translates into the sitting on a computer every day, because what was there a number of years ago? There was some huge banking system issue. No, it was Southwest. Southwest had a huge booking issue, and they had to bring in like 3 retired guys as if it was like a movie, like an action movie, bringing a guy out of retirement. 3 dudes who actually knew the code on which it was based, that no like current programmer could work with, because it went down to like base code that nobody knew how to work with. So they brought 3 guys out of retirement who knew how to work it. Nobody knows how to even do that anymore.
Well, even Disney had to rehire veterans to teach traditional animation again.
And and honestly, in Vagabond, that goes all the way back to Lilo and Stitch in 2001. They had none of the animators there knew how to do that hand-drawn, hand-painted watercolor background. They had to bring in people from the 50s and 60s who knew how to do that. Yeah. It's crazy, even in the artistic world where you get to sit and sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're exactly right. I just want to tie this to stand up for a second. This is one of the reasons like stand up is so bad right now. I talk about this a lot. Is we're just flooded with like dog shit short video content, and but one of the things that I'm noticing a lot is, and you talk to older comics talk about this, is a lot of people who are doing stand up right now don't know how to write it. Like they're just getting up there and telling like a weird story, like my uncle touched my butthole at my birthday, hurt, or whatever, or they're just like being as gross as they can on purpose, or they're just like, I had sex with this guy. They're like trauma dumping or whatever into a microphone because they can command a room's attention, but they're not writing like setup, premise, punchline. Like there's a structure to stand up. There's like, you're not doing the art form. You're just telling weird stories to a room full of people who don't want to hear it. You're not doing the art form. And a lot of people don't know how. Like they just don't.
Well, I can speak to this too because it ties into the anime right now. So the Chainsaw Man movie that recently came out, I gave it a 10 out of 10. So unlike other movies where it's like when you watch a modern movie, it starts off fast action, bunch of stuff happens right away. It's a slow build up, just like the first Alien movie, right? You get to know the characters and want to care about the characters. Then there's a climax or something that happens, and then you get your action and stuff towards the end. And that's what it did, because a lot of modern movies is just, oh, they already got powers, they fast action, do this and that, movie ends, and then we're like, oh, this movie sucked. Well, because like I don't care about any of the characters or whatever. And that's like the beauty of the first Alien movie. It before you even know the alien, you're just getting figuring out if you care about these characters or not, and then you see how they interact with each other, even if you did not care about them. So then whatever setting they're put in, then you get your action scene when the alien comes out.
Yeah, let's actually talk about this a little bit. I noticed this. I don't watch. So you see this in other genres too, like early, like movies that were made in like the 40s were written by people who grew up reading plays. They read Shakespeare, they read great works of literature, and that's what informed their writing. And that's why the writing is so punchy. You see this even in like old Twilight Zone episodes from like the 50s and 60s. The writing is very punchy, and people are saying things out loud on purpose, right? Like they're conveying messages, and there's a lot of fun like Cold War propaganda and stuff like that in there. There's a lot of stuff to unpack there, but the point is people were very expressive and well written. But now you see the stuff written by millennials. This is why I always say millennials shouldn't have jobs. I have so much contempt for the millennial generation, what they've done to this country. And it's, you look at millennials grew up watching TV shows, so the TV shows sound like shittier copies of previous TV shows. And the other thing too is they have to factor in now. This makes me so bad. They have to factor in second screen viewing. So do you ever wonder why sometimes like the main characters of the show will just say, "We are best friends and we are at the mall right now because we have to find your girlfriend, remember?" Like, and they'll just like give them like a retarded amount of exposition. That's because they assume you're watching TikTok at the same time as you're watching this. Like, you're going to get bored with what's on the screen, and you're just going to, like, pull up Pornhub just while you're...
Well, I wouldn't blame millennials. A lot of it's people who actually care about writing are not getting the jobs. It's people who are like, hey, I want people to believe whatever I believe in, so I'm going to get into Hollywood or stuff like that.
Yeah.
As opposed to someone's like, hey, I want to tell a story, either fiction or fiction, and have people care about the story. It's two different. It's like the same thing with what you see in video game studios, where back just like a few years back, it's a bunch of dude bros partying it up and like, hey, we're making a game together. And you look at the studio now, it's just all women with blue hair, shaved hair at the side, or whatever, with a septum piercing. It's like a whole different culture.
Yeah, every last one, and you can. And there's there's a reason that so many AAA games that should have been made and should have been fucking awesome are now absolutely dog shit. But also these people, let's also not gloss over the fact that a lot of the entertainment industry values identity more than talent, because they're not even hiring writers anymore. They're not hiring actual creatives. They're like, especially in the case of Disney, they're casting people to do the job. They're casting directors, casting writers. They already have the story they want to tell. They're just hiring you so that you can put your name on it. And even though you have no creative input in that whatsoever, if any, then
okay. Biggest example, Kathleen Kennedy, right?
Yeah.
So Star Wars is predominantly a male thing, right? She comes in and goes, you know what should happen? Star Wars needs to become female. We need females in here, even though there were females in it. But she wants females to be the foremost in the forefront of everything. So she starts wearing T-shirts. The Force is female. You think she actually cared about Star Wars, or she cared about putting out a message?
Yeah,
she cared about Star Wars at one point, which is why it was so.
I don't think that. I think she only cared about it was a job at the time. Now she got to the leadership position, and she's like, I need to put my values on and force it onto my audience.
That's fair.
Yeah. What do you think is going on with? Do you think? Okay, do you think that that was actually a sincere effort to make money, or do you think it was like? Do you think she actually believed I'm fucking creative director for fucking Star Wars? I can do whatever I want. I'm untouchable.
No. I think it was the coffee getter's revenge that I know where all the bodies are, and I am going to destroy your legacy because you're men and you're evil. So I'm going to take your beloved creations and destroy them.
So I know it feels like they're ruining shit on purpose, but are they actually ruining shit on purpose?
I don't think it's on purpose. I think they don't understand the audience. They just have a message to spill. So she's like, women can do anything the men can do, or even better. That's their thought ideology. So then what she does, everything's all female. The Acolyte, whatever, the one with Ridley or whatever, Daisy Ridley.
But what's fascinating to me about this is that women don't enjoy these stories either. Women also like old Star Wars better.
Well,
women
that's what they do. What do they call women that go against the grain of their ideology? Oh, you're a pick-me or whatever. It's the same thing. Black people who go against the grain with the other black people. Oh, you're an Uncle Tom or whatever.
That's true. By the way, on this channel, we're big supporters of pick-me's. Shout out to the 4%. Pick-me's get picked. That's right. Pick-me's get picked. Let's get that on a shirt. Pick-me's get picked.
But if you cared, oh my bad.
I was going to say, you can see where this really started. It even started back in the 90s because it all came down to the messaging of the commercials. It's specifically Nike. Anything you can do, I can do better. Male versus female.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the other thing too is, you go ahead.
No, I'm like, well, I'm just trying to figure out what the fuck is what's the point of all this? Like, it just. Why are they doing? What's the point here? Because it's clearly not to make money. Because they would make a lot more money if they made good shows.
No, it's the one thing is they don't understand economics, right? So if you work at a company like Disney, most of Disney's money is from the parks, right?
Yeah.
So you keep failing, but okay, a movie didn't make $1 million, made a couple $1 million in profit.
Yeah,
that's just a minute scratch on the actual sales Disney gets from people going to the parks all the time.
Good point.
So they can fail without consequences at these large corporations, and that's all it is. You think what's another one? The toys right now, right? Where all the toys are like, anytime they make something, a toy for the Marvel movies, the toys you see it at the clearance aisle. But you think Disney, Marvel cares about that when most of their money is just coming in from, could subsidize that from one day people going to the parks.
Except for because of everything they've done, park attendance is at its lowest point in its history right now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I get that.
It's just crazy.
And like Galaxy's Edge specifically is a graveyard because they only just now this year introduced Luke Skywalker into Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. They thought that they had the hubris. They thought that everyone would want to see the sequel characters. Nobody does.
This is actually what this is a point. Ronald actually just made a really good point that I wanted to make as well. Young women are the largest consumer demographic in America. It pays well to cater to them. That's what I think. So this should have worked, right? Because women control 80% of consumer buying decisions. So they decide, married women decide what their families buy. Single women are notoriously frivolous with their money. Shout out single women. We love you guys. But married women control the buying decisions for their families. So theoretically, this is why every single marketing campaign is targeted at women and every single TV show is made with women in mind. Theoretically, this should have been unmissable. Making Star Wars a chick brand should have been a slam dunk, right? Because that's who spends money. Like, that's who is buying all these Disney parks tickets. It's not, it's not guys like me and Strider who are the same age as it's childless millennial women who are buying all these Disney parks.
I'll push back against that a little bit. So
go ahead.
Lego did a toy test a long time ago, where because men and women have different interests. Do some women like to be a tomboy, of course, but they give a bunch of kids a bunch of toys. They studied how the boys and the girls play differently, and women, they try to become girls try to make the characters about them, as the boys try to become the characters. Like I'm not trying to make Batman me. I'm going to try to become like Batman, and the way they play differently. So so that in itself was already showing that there was differences. Now that they got like a woke CEO or whatever, they're like, oh, they kind of like changed that a bit. We're like, oh well, ignore that old test that we made before years back. But then you got like places like California, it's like, oh, we got to be gender inclusive. So you got to have gender inclusive toy aisles. So you can't have a boy aisle and the obvious girl aisle. You got to mix them together. It's stuff like that. Is they don't understand their audience.
So this I think this is, they believe in the blank slate. And as long as they believe in the blank slate that like gender roles are completely made up, there's no differences between men and women. It's just how they're programmed. It's all software. There's no, it's all like, and all stuff that you put on, that gets put on you after you're born. It's like nothing innate in you. And as long as you believe that, because like, okay, because theoretically, right? Okay, if women spend the most money, we should be selling to women, right? And you can sell women anything, right? And if you believe in the blank slate, you can sell women anything. They'll buy what we tell them to buy, right? So if we train women to like Star Wars, women will buy Star Wars crap.
Yeah,
right.
Star Wars, video games, comics, even anime is male-dominated hobbies.
Yeah.
Are there females who like them? Yes, but they're all male-dominated hobbies. That's the biggest buying demographics of these hobbies or whatever. And when you don't cater to the men, then the women that would buy that stuff, that would buy the stuff the same thing as men, they're not a customer anymore. And then you got the weirdo women that like maybe they buy, but you're not making any money off of them.
Yeah, well, I also thought that's the other thing. So I think Strider was making this point earlier. Women also liked Star Wars better the way it was before. Like, I didn't know women didn't like Star Wars. I didn't have that impression. Like, I mean, that was like maybe true in the late 70s. But I mean, for the most part, this is one of the most bankable mainstream American film brands. It was absolutely crushing it. Why did they? I guess it goes back to what Vagabond is saying. Why would they do such a big and risky and predictably unsuccessful brand pivot? The other thing too is that it's not like they didn't have customer feedback, because Unique at this point in history, you have more access to what your customers think about your product than you ever have had before if you are a film company, because there's a whole ecosystem of film critics on YouTube, and they have a comment section, and they have viewer count, and then there's so much discourse on films. There's discourse about the people who do discourse on the films, so you could just go look at what people think. You can just check out the live, and I guarantee you they were. I am so sure Kathleen Kennedy stayed up at night watching Critical Drinker videos.
They absolutely were. People at Lucasfilm, not Lucasfilm, but just Disney overall. This is the Disney overall response, because lest we forget, they literally wrote in the quote unquote toxic fans into a She-Hulk show, made them the villains. And lest we also not forget, Netflix, the runner of The Witcher, and this story is, I reminded of the story because The Witcher season 4 just came out. The showrunner for that, and she feminized the hell out of it, just did the Kathleen Kennedy effect on The Witcher, which is probably the most male, like it's Game of Thrones fancy level. Like, it's insane. But she was actually interacting, the showrunner of The Witcher show was interacting with fans, talking to them and hearing their feedback and trying to discuss things with them. But then it turned out Netflix came back and said, no, actually don't interact with them. They're just horrible, hateful bigots. She's like, okay, never mind, locked down replies and didn't entertain anymore. You're right, Theo. If there is no excuse for these studios to be doing this, because they have fan.
Well, yeah, okay. What's causing that? That's my question. Is this a female leadership problem? Because
because they want to put their spin on this stuff. Because look at fantasy in general. Fantasy in general is so gay now because we have Rings of Power, Wheel of Time, Willow, The Witcher, and probably two other shows I'm not even remembering. They all you can take screenshots from those shows. You don't know the difference between them. They have the same shitty production quality, the same shitty identity politics inserted in there, the same girl boss bullshit writing. You could intermingle different episodes and they would be completely different.
You know what's crazy?
Not be able to tell them apart.
Okay. So you know what's kind of crazy about this? I was thinking about this. I cannot understand, just from like a logical money making perspective, I cannot understand like not taking customer feedback and then being responsive to it. You know, I understand being too responsive to it's easy to be too responsive as a CEO. Like you saw this in the decline of MoviePass. I don't know if you guys remember that, but basically, MoviePass was this thing. You pay them a monthly fee, and you can see as many movies as you want. This immediately became untenable because people would see a lot of movies if they could do that, right? So, hold on. What are we looking at? Kathleen Kennedy. Oh, I think some do, but most are just in a bubble. Yeah. Is that a cat actually asleep on your head? God,
yes.
Fucking cats again. All right. Well, no, this is what I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
I wonder. I can't understand the not being responsive to customer feedback unless it's like the messaging that's actually the most important thing. And like the fantasy shows problem is huge. Where now, because these fantasy shows are being made from the same like creatively bankrupt ideological ethos, they all look so similar. And the charm and the uniqueness of the storytelling that made each individual property interesting,
here's the thing,
is gone now.
Well, okay, I can speak to this because it's the same thing. I was in the video game industry for a short time. Here's the thing that we used to hear a lot. Oh, there's not enough Black people that work in this industry. There's not enough, like they don't account for people's actual interests. Oh, well, there's a pay gap in such and such industry. The men get paid way more than the women do. And if you look at it, it'll be like they never go, well, there's more women that get paid than men in nursing. They never do that. A lot of these people who are in these positions are is not because they cared about it. They were forced into it because they had to beat a quota. We need more women in such and such job field or whatever. Look how that fire department's doing in California or whatever. It's just saying. Right. They're forcing leadership roles on to meet a quota. Oh, we don't have enough Black people in there. We need to have Black. It's not people who were passionate about these jobs in the first place. Because if you a passionate person would have known, hey, there's actual lore books to Star Wars or whatever, and like we wouldn't have never had statements like, oh, well, I didn't know there was books out there or whatever, or extended universe.
It's worse with Star Wars because she in the case of Kathleen Kennedy, is because she came out and said the EU was completely non-canon and not to be used.
But we're totally for some reason adapting Thrawn, and we're totally for some reason adapting so many other disparate elements of the books and just putting them in our thing because that's what we think fans want to see. Because initially everyone was excited.
Here's my argument on that. So a lot of places have like a certain Bible to the IP, right? Marvel, DC. So all it takes is some intern that doesn't really care and be like, they go find a story, right? And it'd be like, well, we don't want this character is too masculine or whatever. Let me put this female character here instead, or invent that. And I think that's what we're seeing. I don't think these people actually cared about the IP in the first place.
Well, okay, let me ask you something. Because this doesn't, what the fuck is going on here? Because this doesn't make, like, I don't understand this idea of being like, my customers are wrong, and in fact, they are bad people because they do not like my product. Like, that has to be downstream of female leadership. I can't imagine a male CEO being like, the customer is the problem. I mean, I'm sure it's happened. I'm not saying it's never happened, but like only a retarded narcissist would say that. If your customer doesn't like your imagine I as a comedian, right? Because that's a small business that I'm running over here. Very small, limited revenue streams. We're doing our best to keep the lights on, right? But imagine I go up, you see comedians do this and they never make it past the open mic level because you go up and you do a set and the audience doesn't like it. And it's like, well, you guys are stupid. No, the customer decides if your product is good. The market decides. If the market is telling you your product sucks, shouldn't you, if you're in charge of making the product, do some kind of pivot in response to that? Especially if they're telling you, How many companies in history have ever had a detailed breakdown of why customers are rejecting their product more so than Disney? Think of the thousands of hours of YouTube content that has been made about what they're doing wrong. Why don't they respond?
I could tell you why. It's no different than the people who are complaining about food stamps right now, right? It wasn't their money in the first place. They're still getting paid even if it's a failure. That's why. The people on the food stamps. Well, like
I do agree. But I think sorry, go ahead.
Okay, if you work at a job and someone steals, like say the whole building got ransacked, but you still get a paycheck, do you care as much? No, unless you actually care about the company, then maybe. But if you worked at a lot of people, we live around a lot of people who have no actual work ethic, and if something bad happens to the company, as long as they still getting paid, they don't give 2 cents of what happened. That's what's happening. It's not their money. They can, as long as they get paid still, they can give a fuck all if the movie fails or whatever, what the fans have to say.
And a lot of those upper management individuals already have a golden parachute, so it really doesn't matter when they either get forced out or choose to leave at their own time. They're going to get paid anyway. Yeah, there's no financial repercussions.
So there's no meaningful consequences.
Yeah, another thing to add.
There's no meaningful benefit to admitting wrong, because if you're admitting wrong, it means that if you're admitting that you made a miscalculation, you made a misstep, then that means that you look bad in front of your bosses. These people do not want the feedback of the fans. They don't give a shit about the fans. Otherwise, they would give us what we fucking want. But all they're trying to do is appeal to their bosses. Because do you think that, for instance, Bob Iger at Disney, he's of all the different departments under Disney, we got Lucasfilm, we got Pixar, we got Disney Animation, and we got the Marvel. Do you think he spends any amount of time on Twitter or any amount of time on YouTube watching these breakdowns, watching these things? No. He relies on the people beneath him who rely on the people beneath them to tell them everything's hunky-dory, even though it's not. So he's probably hearing from Kathleen Kennedy and Kevin Feige, that everything's perfectly fine, but he doesn't care as long as the profits roll in, significantly reduced though they are, and they're run by yes men who are run by yes men under them, run by yes men under them who are telling them everything's fine. But honestly, it would take. But you would still have, because all of this is still ideologically motivated, because you got out-of-touch boomers who think that they're trying to pivot to a specific audience, but they're also hiring people on the cheap who are absolutely ideologically driven, but they're still giving the CEO what they want. They're still giving the creative director what they want, which is Star Wars and Marvel for females. And it's failing miserably because nobody likes it, but they don't care because it's an instant gaslighting. Oh, it's the fans' problem.
You're making a product that your intended audience is not consuming and does not like, and they like the product.
I do want to add to this. I'll answer that because it also ties into Ronald's last question.
Yeah.
That doesn't explain the actors and producers who get a % of the profit. So a lot of these remember, some of these producers and actors, it's pet projects to them, right? So look at that last Joker movie, right? Where the Joker movie was the guy didn't want to do a Joker movie in the first place. He already had his own play and whatever thing, but it wouldn't get greenlit unless it had something to do with DC. So he's like, all right, let me change the character to be Joker. And that was it. So it was only Joker in name. It wasn't the actual Joker from DC. That's what it is. Peacemaker. I know some people like Peacemaker, but who's the actor who plays Peacemaker again?
John Cena.
Yeah, John Cena was going to read all the comics, and so he can get a sense of what the character is. And he was told, don't, because we're not following the source material.
That is not uncommon, by the way. When you're a writer, a producer, or actor in anything Marvel, they tell you not to read the comics, or whatever comics they do tell you to read are from the woke version that nobody read.
So, other than that, a lot of it's a pet project. Like, hey, I have this movie or screenplay I wrote, but it won't get greenlit for me to make a movie. So what they do is, hey, let me change it. Let me just change
dude. Okay, listen. So, you guys saw The Witcher Blood Origin?
I didn't see it.
Okay, so this is what I'm saying. I really think that was like somebody's fucking lesbian D&D campaign fantasy, and then they just said, how can I make this Witcher lore? I really think that's what happened. Same with the Acolyte. I think that was like, I just want to make this like gay movie. How do I make it Star Wars?
Well,
you know,
what was the biggest example? Okay, the first Mario Brothers movie, right? It's only Mario Brothers in name. If they didn't call it Mario Brothers, I think people would be totally fine with the movie.
Yeah, actually, yeah. That movie is kind of a banger in its own way.
Yeah, but the problem is they called it Mario Brothers. That's their flaw. That Godzilla 98 movie, if they didn't call it Godzilla, I think people wouldn't be as harsh on how that movie is. Because
you know what? Okay, hold on. You're kind of cooking with this because a lot of like Rings of Power, I wouldn't be nearly as upset if it was just a bad fantasy series. Wheel of Time, I wouldn't be nearly as upset if it was just a bad fantasy series. It's the fact that they're adapting properties badly. Even like a lot of people watch House of the Dragon. I thought season 1 was very promising. Season 2 took a lot of liberties with the narrative and really reframed it in a way that made the story worse. And they did it for girl boss reasons.
Oh, another one, that Velma show, right? Which was okay, if they was like, hey, we're basing this off of Scooby-Doo, but it has nothing to do with the Scooby-Doo universe, it's just a parody of show, kind of like Drawn Together as a parody of everything. People wouldn't complain of it. But because you called it something based off of Scooby-Doo, and all these characters are supposed to be the characters that we know and love, that's why people hated it. I mean, I would have hated it anyway because the show sucked. But outside of that, if you didn't call it Velma and made it its own thing or whatever, kind of like Hanna-Barbera used to do this all the time. The Snorks and the Smurfs.
Yeah, what's crazy? Okay. Belladon's making a point.
Yeah,
people are begging for original content at the same time. So at the same time, all these remakes are being received so badly, right? And people are reskinning their original ideas to fit within this IP framework because nobody will greenlight anything unless an IP is attached. Right? People at the same time, the audience feedback has been take a risk, tell some interesting original stories. Let's see what happens. You know,
that's where Star Wars originated out of, was taking a risk. That's where a lot of the stuff that started these IPs were all on risk taking.
I think what it also is a lot of the other reason is a lot of these guys write the same story, right? If it's a black character, they have some racism happen to them. They have to overcome the racism.
That is absolutely right. You can tell the direction of the plot based on the casting alone.
And if they have the fucking Killmonger haircut, it's a bad guy.
Yeah, so it's like they did write their own original piece, but they're like, okay, we know audience is not going to buy it, so let me attach Star Wars into there, and there I go, and maybe I'll get some traction.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, they don't actually care about the IP. They're just mining it. They're just, like you said, Theo, they're just slapping their own fan fiction on there and just attaching Lord of the Rings or Star Wars or Marvel to it because they cannot actually go out and take risks, because that would mean lowering the budget. That would mean trying to convince their bosses to greenlight this movie that we're not really sure is going to work, but because it has Marvel on it and we think our fans are nothing but slop eating pigs, they'll eat or drink everything.
Okay, so this is my question. Okay, because I understand with movies doing theatrical runs and stuff like that, they're becoming a financial liability. But you would think with the explosion of streaming, right, there would be opportunities for independent creators, and it would be cool and it'd be awesome. But no. The stuff that's coming out on streaming, the first few Netflix shows that came out on streaming were really exciting and groundbreaking and interesting, and they were the kind of stuff that you wouldn't have gotten on network TV, and that was cool. Now it's just low budget slop. It's just low budget slop.
I think what it is, so Netflix is looking for original programming, and so they're kind of throwing money everywhere. But because the other thing is, there's too many streaming services now.
Yeah.
So when it was just cable TV, you get like. You got Cox, cable, Time Warner, or whatever. Yeah. But like there was just in your area, there's only a few selections that you could, if you wanted to watch TV, that's all you had. Now we got like a million streaming services, and they don't one streaming service is going to have something the other streaming service doesn't have. But back in the cable days, it's like it's depending on what service you just like better, and they kind of had the same mostly the same channels. So hey, if I could watch Cartoon Network on Time Warner, Cox Cable, Dish TV, or whatever.
Well, okay, so this is actually kind of something I want to tie in. It's like if they wanted people, especially men, to accept the kind of social changes that they're trying to, funnel down our throats now, if they wanted us to accept it, then the entertainment would have to be good.
Yeah.
Because we would need to have a way to check out and dissociate. It's like, hey, you know what? If the movies are good, I could still get, food I like. I'm chilling, whatever you want.
No. Perfect example of this. During the time of the Cold War, there were 2 movies that were made around the same time with basically the same premise, but a bit of a different emphasis. So you had High Noon, which is always cited as a classic Western, but it is suffused with Marxist propaganda. But then you got Rio Bravo, a John Wayne remake, who's like, yeah, I hate that movie sucks. I'm going to do a bit different. And it's actually a little bit more of a right-wing perspective. The thing is, if you eliminate all perspectives, and the 2 existed simultaneously, and the 2 were very well received because obviously one's a classic Western, one's a John Wayne movie. But the thing is, it ousted everybody with any kind of contrary opinion, any kind of contrary perspective and idea, and therefore they've got nobody to draw on except for their own incestual bullshit.
I can touch on that. Here's the difference. Anita Sarkeesian, right? We have video of her saying she's never played video games in her life. Yep. She's going to be on this journey to see what these guys are playing, and then the next minute, I've been a gamer, been playing Super Nintendo since I was little or whatever. So when it's obvious she doesn't like games and was never part of the culture, but she forces her way into the industry to where Neil Druckmann followed her direction for Last of Us 2, and we know how that turned out.
Yeah,
they don't care about this in the first place. They're infiltrating our hobbies, and if you don't gatekeep, it's going to keep spreading, and that's what it really boils down to.
It's like, well, what is their motivation for doing this? Is it just spite? They just hate that we're having fun.
Well,
I think it is actually. Well, I think it's much more nefarious this way, because one of the primary purposes of propaganda is not to make you feel, not to convince you of the other perspective, is to make you feel alone. And this is 100% tied to Gramscian propaganda, who wrote literally, we cannot let these people relax. We cannot let these people have any kind of escape. You have to infuse every facet of entertainment with propaganda, with our messaging. Otherwise, it'll never stick, because they can't have anything. They can't have anywhere to escape it. We have to consistently and constantly put it in front of them, front of them, so that they have no choice but to accept it just out of pure exhaustion. And that's how we win the culture. He said that 100 years ago.
Well, even that. What's that book where to start communism is you start a sexual revolution and stuff? That's exactly what we're seeing. Partially, where it's the feminization of men. Then the women is the whole thing is like, hey, we're trans everything. It's to go against the grain, lose morality, and then that way you can bring all your socialism in it. It's the book that Gothics used to talk about all the time.
Rules for radicals? No.
It's one of those she used to talk about all the time, where it's like, this is like their whole game plan of, and the game plan is to infiltrate all facets of entertainment.
Yeah, rules for radicals.
It is? Okay.
Yeah. It's rules for radicals.
What's crazy though, okay, this is what I'm saying, is like, you actually need a functioning like media system, especially video games, if you want to pacify men. I think one of the fascinating moments in history is how Gamergate created so many political radicals.
Yep.
That's fascinating. Like, okay, like Sargon of Akkad was like a candidate for parliament after that. Like, not right after that, but like that was look at his trajectory from like, online shit poster to legitimate, right-wing thought leader in the United Kingdom. Like, and that was downstream of, you made video games not fun. I don't think people understand how much harm they're doing to their own agenda by making video games not fun. If video games were fun, then, you know, they could just pretty much, you know, steamroll the cultural revolution. As soon as you made entertainment suck, now everybody hates you.
Well, also in Japan, you got an otaku guy who's like one of the top leaders in Congress in Japan. And
That's
then
crazy.
you got this mangaka that wrote Love Hina, one of my favorite harem series. He joined Congress because he wanted to stop Western influence from messing up Japanese culture and what they write in their books.
I mean, they just elected a female prime minister, the first female prime minister in history, based off of nothing more than the fact that she is a staunch conservative and she put Shinzo Abe to shame. Like, that is not easy to
and
do.
she's a metal drummer too.
She's a metalhead. It's awesome.
What the fuck
Like,
is this
the kind of shit
timeline?
we need.
Jeez. The fuck is this timeline? Anyway, I want to show you guys this. This has been fun. Hold on. Actually, Arza had a comment up here. It was
Oh yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah. Hold on. Let's see if I. Poor Theo, his women bad stream has become a nerd stream.
Well, I mean, to tie it all back together, we can absolutely trace the decline of gaming and entertainment in general back to more female inclusion as a response to what? Gamergate.
What's
The
crazy
industry
is like
overcorrected.
it ruined it. This is like these shows and stuff, the shows and movies and games and stuff. Women were consuming them and they liked them, and it was nice. Like that, women were not unhappy. That's the thing. It's like there was a tiny percentage of really disagreeable women who were unhappy and made a big fuss. And the whole industry moved in response to them. Women broad strokes were fine.
Well, that's what radicalized me is you kept fucking with my hobbies.
Yeah, like honestly, that's the thing you don't understand. They don't understand what they woke up because so many of these men would have been politically apathetic their entire lives. And they were happy. They were happy. They never would have been involved.
Yeah, like my turning point, it wasn't women directly, but it was other black people, right? Wolverine's one of my favorite characters growing up. And then I was some stupid forum or some shit that just pissed me off because these guys were like, oh, we need a black Wolverine or some shit. And I'm like, no, you don't. Wolverine's fine the way he is. Just make a new character. And then I kept getting called Uncle Tom. Oh, you sell out and this, and this. And I'm like I used to agree with everything you said, but why can't we just make your own superheroes? That's all. That was my only position, is make your own superheroes. There was nothing wrong with the shit the way it is.
Is it insulting though? I've always wondered this. Is it not insulting to be like, hey, we couldn't think of any stories about women worth telling, so we just took a story about men and changed all the genders? I hope you're happy. Isn't that offensive to women? It was like, we couldn't think of one single solitary story about you that was worth telling. Well, so we just took a male story and reskinned it.
The sad part, there's good female writers out there. J.K. Rowling, right? She's probably the greatest female writer of our time right now. And look how much people buy her books and shit and go crazy for Harry Potter.
Yeah,
and then the anime wise, what was it? Sailor Moon was a female writer. Wasn't Inuyasha or whatever? But there's a lot of female writers out there, and no one cared that they were women. They just wrote good stories, and then all of a sudden you got people in there. We need more female representation or something.
Yeah, and by the way, what's crazy is like I know there are good. This is the same with like comics too, season comedy. I know there's good female comics. It's just like a lot of them are not getting the opportunities, and there's good female writers that's not who's getting the opportunity. Who for some reason the publishing world, for instance, has never been more female dominated, both in who decides what gets published and who's doing the writing, and it's just all monster porn. It's just all porn. It's just poor, just so much porn. God, it's just so much fucking porn.
Women are always the more. They're the ones who buy porn more than men do, or something.
Yeah, and it's like, the thing is, women are actually more apt to buy porn because they don't have Reddit, because they get porn through their books.
But
so they have to buy it.
But the thing is, that's not what there are women who are writing other things. That's just not what they're choosing to showcase. Like there have always been women who wrote in sci-fi television going back to the early days of Star Trek.
Yeah.
Right. But that's not who's writing the shows now. Right. It's just they for some reason they bring in people who think the same way and check a certain box so that they can produce this like horrible like garbage slop.
Well, the people now are trying to produce propaganda for you to join their position. The people back then, women and men, were writing to tell a good story and for people to enjoy.
Yeah, okay, so that's what it is. It's like difference in intentions. Like the people who were writing something because they wanted it to be good on purpose, they wanted to tell a story, is different than the people who are like, I want to push propaganda on purpose.
Right.
But that's who they're prioritizing the propaganda over the actual good storytelling.
Right.
I think it's a little bit more simpler than that, because I think they're just chasing a trend that they're stupidly thinking is a trend. So, like, and honestly, a lot of this push toward you don't find a male young adult writer now, and most literature is 100% catered towards women because the rise of clit-lit and the rise of book talk and the rise of basically written porn that a lot of women make into their personalities and spread to other women to similarly make into their personalities. So publishing companies hire women to write the same exact type stories that are going to appear on TikTok and are going to appear that all the women are going to be forming their her entire personality and brands over. It's not going to last, but that's why, thanks to Gamergate, all of these people, to tie it back there, thanks to Gamergate, all these companies started hiring women, and they started to basically fly in the face of everything that made gaming cool. And film companies followed the same. Film companies followed the exact same route. So the TV companies, every cultural in general, adapted these same exact demographics, and that's why everything sucks now, because it's run by shallow idiots who are just chasing trends, and the big companies who allow them to do it to the detriment of their bottom line.
Yeah, that's disappointing. I don't know. One of the things that I think is coming out of this is we're getting a renaissance of independent creators, but what we're losing is the cultural touchstones, and those, it turns out, were actually like very important. It was very important to Americans that we were all watching the same sporting events and watching the same television shows. That was a very important point of connection for us. And now that we don't have that, I think that's one of the main things that's downstream of that is all of this political division. Because like no matter who you voted for, everybody was watching Seinfeld, back in the day. It was one of three things that was on. So you had to pick things. You always had something to talk to people about. But now it's like, even if somebody tells me I'm a Star Wars fan, what does that mean? Does that mean that you beat off to Kylo Ren? Or does that mean you like the original trilogy? Or does that mean you like the Clone Wars cartoon? Or does that mean you like the prequel? Now Star Wars fan, like it used to be, Star Wars fan meant you liked these same three movies and you had a bunch of the books, and maybe you had.
I wouldn't say it's just the movie. You like the lore and the universe of Star Wars, right?
What's up, Toasty? How you doing, girl? Toasty's your friend of the channel.
And the way you love the lore is like, okay, if anything was retconned, then we would have discussions about it, right? That's what it used to be. Right, we would have discussions about, hey, they made this mistake, which messes up this, and from episode this or whatever.
Right.
Now it's like we don't get those discussions anymore because we're dealing with people who don't actually care about the actual lore. Like, if you like, okay, for example, the Harry Potter series is coming out, right? The people who care about the lore are the ones calling out, hey, Snape is described as such and such, and super pale with like greasy whatever hair or whatever, but not this black guy that you're putting as Snape now.
Well, the problem with that especially is Snape was the guy everybody bullied. So if he's black, if he's black and he's getting bullied in like the 70s or whatever, because Harry Potter takes place in the 90s, so like 20 years prior to that. So if Harry Potter's dad is just a gang of white dudes bullying the one black kid, that has a different connotation than if they're just bullying the nerd.
If we ignore the connotation,
have to account for that in the show, or they're either going to have to account for that in the show, or the fat blue-haired like fake fans are gonna make them account for it. Like, how dare you talk about this racial thing?
And now we have to talk.
about
You listen to Snape talk about his like racial oppression and shit. His
Well,
oppression.
that honestly, that is a trend you can follow. And what's so weird because Snape is not a secret good guy. Choosing a black guy to portray that is stupid because Snape is not a secret good guy. He is actually a piece of shit.
Well,
He is
a lot
a
of people-
real
a lot of people-
There are piece of shit black people out there. To be fair,
I'll say this much. Hey, you want to know what Snape had a
Clip
hard
that.
upbringing?
Clip that.
Had a hard upbringing. I mean, his dad went out for cigarettes and just never came back, and so just put him on that path.
God damn, disavow. Okay.
I mean, everything is going to be recontextualized by him being black, and that's why these supposedly like meaningless surface decisions are not in fact surface decisions. They recontextualize everything.
Yeah, though this is important. Okay, I gotta tie this in. So House of the Dragon, they made House Velaryon black,
which works.
If House Velaryon is black, then every single Targaryen we've met, including Daenerys, is at least I calculated it. It was either like an eighth or a quarter black. Every single one, because they inbreed so much. So so Daenerys should look a lot different if House Velaryon is black. Like, I'm not trying to be a dick about this. I'm not saying the actors didn't do a good job, but there are like consequences to these creative choices that you're making that I don't think people.
Okay,
are thinking.
I'll tell you.
Rings of Power.
Hold on, we got actual stuff that's based on real life stuff. What was the one where they made the English princess black?
Oh, Anne Boleyn?
Yeah. So
Anne Boleyn
that's an example of we're dealing with people who don't actually care about story or history or things that make sense. They're there only to push an agenda. Cleopatra, let's make her black. A show about Vikings. Let's have black Vikings.
not just a black Viking, a legendary Viking king who is well known to anyone who knows any kind of Viking lore. They didn't just recast some random dude. They did like the Vikingest of Vikings, and they made, she's a black woman, by the way. Like,
that's what I'm saying. These people don't care about the source material. They don't care about actual history. It's only to push an agenda. So if it fails, all their mission is, I don't care as long as we got the message out there. And that's what they're doing. That's the people we're dealing with.
Right. It's the same people, the same group that was out there saying Cleopatra was black.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, the patient zero for this was Hamilton. I know people love that musical for some reason. It's overrated as hell. But that's it. Lin-Manuel Miranda read a book about Alexander Hamilton. And granted, it is a well-crafted musical, but it would be just as good if the entire cast was white. But the reason he has to cast minorities in it is to specifically insert people that look like him into an historical context that they were not present for.
Yeah,
but
it's one thing if you have like
history.
It's a one thing if you have like, there's a random extra in the very far back where you barely notice them, or whatever.
Well, there's a tapestry actually in the halls of the Tudor dynasty. There's a tapestry that has a black guy as like one of their banner bearers. Okay, great, that did happen 100%, but that doesn't mean that the entire Tudor dynasty are black. It's ridiculous.
Like I would have been fine if the Vikings fought they fought some Muslims who actually had black slaves from East Africa. And then they took in the black slave to be a Viking or whatever. That would have made more sense or something.
They'll race swap any and every character, but never invent any cool original characters to fill their quota. Yeah, and that's kind of the point. Is the real casualty here is that every time you get one of these race swaps or gender swaps, you are actually depriving the audience of cool original characters that are actually way more likely to be accepted. And the other problem with that is because audiences push back so much on this, and it's crazy because the it's revisionist history too, because they'll come out and say audiences have never been accepting of black superheroes when like Blade arguably launched the modern
Blade,
superhero movie phenomenon.
Spawn.
Yeah, it's like that's just never been true. And the idea that like they've never hold on. Without those touchstones, it's hard to relate to people more. I can relate to a Gen Xer or a boomer easier than a Zoomer or even some young millennials. Yeah, that's true, because at least you have those common cultural touchstones. Do you think that's intentional? Like are people just making more shit? Because like I meet so many people that are like, oh, you got to watch Yellowstone. I'm not gonna watch Yellowstone. It's on Paramount Plus. I saw it. I might buy it on DVD just to check it out. But like, I'm not gonna get another streaming service. The only streaming services I have now, it's either stuff that's tied to my phone service or stuff girls leave logged in at my house. Those are the streaming services I have. Like, I'm not paying.
Then Theo, do you need to put in your bio, hey, I'm looking for XYZ, and also, do you have a Paramount Plus?
You're right. I got to start filtering bitches. That's what I got to do. I'll hit up the roster, see what I can scare up.
It's
actually kind of funny, like, because Taylor Sheridan stuff absolutely proves the diversity quota bullshit completely incorrect, because Tulsa King is a very diverse show. It's got Indians in it. It's got Native Americans, because there's a difference, and it's got all sorts of people in it. And nobody talks about their genetic makeup. Nobody talks about their appearances. They just talk about how fun the show is, because it is a lot of fun.
Well, there's times, there's stories where it just makes sense to have diversity, right?
Yeah.
So, like the white guys that went and saw King Kong in the original King Kong movie, and there was black people there. Just saying, it made sense.
Yeah. Well, this is also, Theo, to tie back to everything. There's a reason why this is all propaganda, because I have a perfect example why. Because there's one untapped like story IP farm that they have not touched, and that is African mythology. Nobody has touched that. You could have all the diversity you want. You can have diversity out the wazoo, and it would fit in the context of the story, and it would actually make sense, because some African folklore is a lot of fun. Some African legends, African history, but they don't do that. The last thing we got was Woman King, and that was white woman to hell and back, because it cast slavers as the good guys, the ones who sold slaves to the transatlantic slave trade, tried to pass them off as the good guys, and tried to say, oh, we're going to outlaw slavery. No, you're not. You have so many African legends that you could adapt.
Slavery is good based?
Well, okay, like
they unintentionally made that point, because they didn't think beyond two steps beyond their original writing. All just some woke white woman who's like, yeah,
even
sure.
Now,
black
you could do a movie. What's that tribe in Africa that has like found out where like they have like a type of dinosaur that's there that scientists like, oh, of course it's been dead, but how these people know about it, right? And like you could do a movie where a white scientist guy goes there or whatever, and it's like trying to find this dinosaur thing that this tribe says they see, and does everything, and it finds it. Like you could, there's a lot of things you can just adapt or whatever.
Yeah, but that would require them to like read and know things.
Yeah,
right?
And like I think if your job is to make propaganda, then all you need to do is feel really strongly that you're right. Yeah, and that's the thing. Is like this is what's so frustrating. I think their perspective really doesn't make sense. Like the woke perspective really doesn't make sense outside of the continental United States, and that's why it's such a shame that it's catching on all over Europe. But the fact is, there is a whole other rest of the world that has its own complex history, full of like all kinds of interesting, exciting narratives and adventures, and there's violence and sex and intrigue and all these things that we like to put on TV, and it was all starring other people. The other thing too is a lot of these woke narratives would fall apart if people actually knew history, and the only way to get people to know history is to make a Netflix show about it. Right, because the idea that slavery is a uniquely European phenomenon, or conquering empires is a uniquely European phenomenon, or that going to a new place, exterminating the people that live there, and putting more of your shit there is a uniquely European phenomenon. It's like, nah, that's what people do. That's just what people of all different shapes and sizes and colors and eye orientations, whatever, have been doing that
like
forever.
Like the eunuchs that the Muslims and Persians used to have. Right.
He's making fun of my 4 eyes.
But like, look how bad that was. So
yeah, dude. Well, yeah, it's like, okay, like I was talking about like I was talking to a communist friend one time, and she was telling me about how bad European empires were and slavery and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, for sure. But like, what about the Ottoman Empire?
Yeah.
Nothing. That's just they did all the same shit. They were just browner about it.
Did you see,
that was it?
Have you seen that?
There's a reason that the entirety of Europe all banded together at once and be like, we're going to stop our wars. We're going to stop our internal fighting. Fuck you guys. You're gone.
You seen that clip? You guys familiar with Bobby Lee? You seen his podcast where there was one, he's like, well, we Koreans, we never had slavery or some shit, right? And he's like, look it up. And then they looked it up. They're like, they had the longest form of chattel slavery in the whole earth or whatever. He's like, oh man, we were pieces of shit.
Yes. Everybody has done it. Everybody's been on the receiving end and the perpetrating end. It's just a question of like, how recently did it happen?
Yeah.
And this is... Civilization is like a continuing project that goes back a long way. And, you know, during pretty much all of it, it was messy. And no matter what, they've had like, there've been like, they call them like the steppe civilizations because the region they're in, but they're basically roaming, conquering barbarians that like to fight. They're basically anti-civilization. They like to ride around and take stuff from other people. That's how they survive. And it's like, what do they do when they run out of people? They go and they kill all the men, they kidnap women, and then they impregnate them and they make more. They just throw them over the backs of their horse and then just gallop away and impregnate them. That's how they make more of themselves. You know, like they don't exist anymore. But like that was a lot of history, was just them doing, and they were really successful at doing it. Like that's not good, obviously, but it's not. This isn't like the British Empire did not invent evil. I think it's just because people don't know things that they think that. And that's why I'm saying if you made like a legit Netflix series about like Genghis Khan or something, people would know things. Of course, they'd probably like make it so he was the good guy. They'd cast some
same
cast
thing.
like Shang-Chi to play him or whatever.
That Batman Aztec show, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. I was like, you seen that Batman Aztec? Where it was like,
the
conquistadors are the bad guys, like, oh, let's ignore the fact that we sacrifice people.
Yeah, let's ignore. They were practicing human sacrifice, and the conquistadors got there. The conquistadors got there and was like, oh fuck, these people are nuts. They're probably worshiping the devil. We should take them out. But why did they think that? Because they were practicing human sacrifice. That's why. That's why they thought that.
Well,
that was their. If your neighbor
by the millions per year.
Okay, if you move to a new house and your neighbor was practicing human sacrifice in his backyard, would you be like, well, cultural differences? Or would you be like, he needs to stop that now?
Well, here's the other thing that they do. So they're like, oh, well, why they were forcing Christianity on people. You're telling me you rather have a God that sacrifices that was sacrificing your people because this other tribe is better than yours, or you can listen to these white guys that come over here with their God, and all you have to do is just pray. which one sounds better to you?
Why are we? What are we doing?
I don't know if you follow him on Twitter. Little Platoon had a brilliant, like a hilarious joke about it. He's like, "Are they gonna include the fact that they butchered Robin with a flint knife because it hadn't rained in 3 weeks?" I thought it was brilliant.
What are we doing here? Yeah. What are we doing here? And look, I'm not. Look, no cultural tradition is perfect. Everybody struggles, but like we can really only judge cultures by how successful they are. And there's certain civilizations that have been really successful, and you can kind of take what works and what doesn't and go with that. But like everybody's just doing their best. And this idea that like it doesn't do any good to have a culture that hates itself. And I guess my main problem with the way that our media is right now is that it's training especially young people to hate their ancestors, hate themselves, hate their culture, have like just pathological, self-esteem issues about the culture in which they grew up. And it's just annihilating any meaningful sense of like patriotism or romance or like love for the homeland, and it's like really hard. If you hate where you live, you're not going to take good care of it. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's a bad thing. It's good to take good care of where you live, no matter where it is. Even if because a society that hates its ancestors hates itself. People who talk about how bad their ancestors are actually talking about themselves. Humans are not that complicated. You can't hate your ancestors and not also hate yourself. I admire my ancestors, actually. I think they overcame a lot to create the opportunities that I have today. I don't think I'm even like telling turns out of school when I say that. I think that's probably true for everyone who has the privilege to be here. I mean, think about what the people in history prior to you survived. And the thing is, we don't know any real history, but everybody knows fucking Marvel history. People probably know more about the Endgame War than they do, or the Marvel Civil War than they do about the American Civil War.
They probably don't even know that now because it's now seen as outdated. And Marvel's been trying to bury it under a bunch of slop for some reason. But you're exactly right though. It's insane how little gratitude there is for the people that came before you. Because I was watching Gangs of New York last night. I only got halfway through. I'm like, holy shit! There's no way this is real. Wait, no, 1840s, 1860s in the middle of New York. Yeah, this is exactly how it was. And I actually read the book it was based on. I had to like rub my eyes a little bit. Like, this isn't real. There's no way people lived like this. They 100% did. And it makes me so grateful that I don't have to live like that anymore. I don't have to live on a bunch of plywood and rags in the middle of a rundown brewery. And that's my life until I die at 50 or something. Like, I have to either I starve to death or die of yellow fever or dysentery or something. Or if I have the money or the grit to do it, I can try to migrate out west and try to eke out a living there. But I will probably die along the way, rather even more horribly than I would die back in 1850s New York, because we have no concept of the people who came before us.
Yeah, how about a fucking thank you?
Right.
How about before you fix your mouth to criticize your ancestors for how like racist they were or whatever, or how they weren't trans inclusive enough, how about a fucking thank you that they survived and they passed on their genetic material so that you could even fucking be alive? And by the way, you owe a responsibility. You have a duty to the next generation. You have a duty to preserve, to not be such a useless shit stain that you pull down this society around you. You have a duty to preserve it to the next generation. You lazy, selfish, entitled fuck. How dare you? How dare you say how much the society owes you? How dare you say that without thinking about what you owe future generations?
You want to know what, Theo? You're absolutely right. And that's why I'm going to start the campaign for us to start building up our military and invade Canada so that we can expand our empire.
Hell yeah, let's go.
Expanding the empire.
We'll expand Tim Hortons. We'll make better coffee than you ever will.
Yeah. It's great. This is what's crazy is like, okay, hold on. I want to show this article. This will be the last thing we'll do, and then we'll kind of close out because we're really just waiting for Vagabond to get back. I want to show this because this is crazy. So you guys have heard about how
while you're pulling
that there we go. Okay, so you guys have. Oh, what are we doing?
So the internet is like the printing press. We went from 2 to 3 mainstream narratives to thousands of narratives. I mean, hundreds.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, and I don't know how to get to a point where we can get people to have shared cultural touchstones again, because politicizing sports was a fucking horrible decision. Like now, like taking the NFL and putting a bunch of political messaging in it was a fucking terrible decision. The NBA, same deal, because you took something everybody liked and you made it political. And so now
there's a reason that they're toning that down. Like in basketball, they're toning it down. In baseball, they're toning it down. Like baseball, when's the last time any like the NFL or NBA or even NHL had a pride flag in their Twitter account. It's been years.
No, that stuff's getting yeeted, and the I understand to some extent when the Black Lives Matter stuff kicked off. I understand why some players wanted to participate, and I think if an individual player wants to participate, or if a group of players together want to participate in some form of protest, that's fine as long as their employer, that should be handled in house. That shouldn't, whatever. But the fact that the league co-signed it and went along with it and started putting like messages on the field and messaging on the uniform and started doing official promotions around this particular political agenda, right? And that pushed a lot of people away. And as we found out later, shit, man, the people, remember the ladies who founded Black Lives Matter? They used all that money to like buy themselves mansions and shit. Right. So they took advantage of all this, like
people with no SNAP benefits now, interestingly.
Yeah. So they took advantage of all these people's like sincere sentiment. And it ended up being, really unfortunate because I think people really did sincerely care about the issues at play. And then unfortunately, by the NFL jumping on what ended up being a political movement, ended up being very divisive. You undermine shared cultural touchstones that transcended political divides. And now TV shows have kind of done the same thing. You can't have apolitical you can't have shows that don't take stances, because shows that are apolitical are assumed to be right wing.
Yep.
It's and so it's like, it's like, okay, so now you have people who like what they like. I don't know any shared cultural touchstones anymore between people who have different political identities. Like if you had to have a conversation with like a blue-haired leftist, what would you bring up to try to have in common with them? I mean, maybe Rick and Morty. Okay, so that's not gonna work for you guys. All right. I don't love Rick and Morty, but I've like seen episodes of it. So
I like Rick and Morty. I don't care about the last season.
It's now
same deal.
I was like, the voice, I could hear a difference in the voice. So I was like, oh, it's not the same.
Well, it's not even the voice. It's just the fact that it's just so nihilistic and rather sarcastic, and that's fine. And that's fine on its own after a while, but after a while, it just gets to you, and you're like, "What's the point of living?" Wait a minute, no, that's the last thing I'm supposed to be asking after watching this show. I don't like the nihilism, the sarcasm is just irritating.
Oh well, I think the guy who was writing the jokes, who was also the voice actor that got rid of him.
Roiland, yeah, he's gone.
Yeah, so I was like, all right, I'm out.
Yeah.
All right, I want to go over this before I get a chance. So, myth of the carnivore caveman. You are not going to like where our ancestors got their protein. So do you remember we were talking about the World Economic Forum wants us all to eat bugs?
Yeah.
And you remember how they were telling us, no, the World Economic Forum doesn't want you to eat bugs. Well, here's the part where they tell you eating bugs is actually natural. It's what our ancestors did.
We're still doing this.
Wait, hold on. This is so good. Across the far right, a paranoid prophecy has been taking hold. The belief that globalist elites wanted to take meat off the menu and replace it with insects. Paranoid, the first line, they're calling it a paranoid prophecy. Watch how that messaging shifts as we go. The charge has been spouted in one version or another by provocateurs like Tucker Carlson, Mike Cernovich, and Jordan Peterson. That Nazi again.
Wow.
And repeated by countless accounts on social media. Let's see. Claim. Okay, I don't want to. We can skip this paragraph. This paragraph is just.
They're drawing Poland in here, so.
Yeah. These claims frequently accompany advocacy for meat-heavy, protein-packed diets, also known as eating in a healthy, sustainable way that's actually going to be good for you. Ascendant within the so-called manosphere, those Nazis manosphere and across the right more broadly, that ostensibly harkened back to our Paleolithic ancestors who, the thinking goes, dined on freshly hunted prey instead of the processed slop churned out by our modern food system, which of course is ridiculous. They also ate SpaghettiOs.
Which is kind of funny that they're saying this because we have entire Indian tribes who hunted buffalo and were hunter gatherers, and so are they saying that doesn't happen?
No. It's so much better than you think.
Oh, no.
Jordan Peterson, for instance, is a vocal proponent of an all-meat carnivore diet, which he compares favorably to the diets of hunter-gatherers in contrast to contemporary diets.
Which he has neurological issues, by the way.
Yeah, right. He only advocates this for himself. He doesn't. He says repeatedly that he's not a diet expert. But anyway, he suggests have too many carbohydrates. Maybe humans should be in hunting mode all the time, he said in 2022. Maybe. Our hunter-gatherer ancestors ate widely divergent diets shaped by climate, geography, and availability, which is, by the way, this line right here, this is, nuh-uh, I know a girl who's 5'10". That's what this is. You see what I'm saying? You see how they did that? They're like, nuh-uh, not all. Anytime you hear a leftist say not all, be like, here, nuh-uh, I know a girl who's 5'10". That's what they're saying. Okay.
Yes, Paleolithic societies did have to deal with issues of drought and flooding and food scarcity all across history. What of it?
Right. And while they certainly ate meat, they had no guarantee of successful hunts, scant means of preserving fresh kills. In fact, according to a recent paper, this is where it gets good, in the Journal of Science Advances, we got to look up this paper. I'm going to have to study this for Theocracy, that presents a peculiar twist. Putrefying meat attracts flies. Which laid eggs that hatched into maggots, which in turn probably provided a ready source of protein to early hunters. See how probably is doing a lot of heavy lifting there?
Yeah, it kind of sounds like a theory
ironically then, part of the Paleolithic diet was bugs.
Oh,
see what I'm saying? In the first sentence, it was a conspiracy theory. And now they're saying, actually, it's more natural to eat bugs. That's what the ancestors ate.
Why would you rather eat bugs when you have a steak in front of you? You have a huge honk of meat in front of you that's come from buffalo. Why would you eat bugs to subsist that? Oh God, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, they didn't just let meat putrefy. They dried it over the course of days. That's how we got jerky and pemmican, by the way. Where do you think jerky comes from? We didn't just throw meat in an oven and decide, oh yeah, this is perfectly fine. Like we didn't have that random idea. It came from centuries of history.
Yeah, and so basically the rest of this article is about how eating meat is right wing and leads you to fascism, and eating bugs is actually good. So that's I wanted to share that with you guys because
you can't even talk.
How? I don't know how you're going to call the bug eating a conspiracy and then say, actually, it's good that our ancestors ate bugs and eating meat is right wing. Eating meat makes you a fascist. That's not good. Well, you should want to eat bugs like the ancestors. It is more natural to eat bugs.
The other thing they do too, they're trying to like equal bugs to anything you eat out of the ocean. So there's like, they're trying to convince them that this is the same thing or whatever. But the whole thing is just okay, tell me why the woolly mammoth is extinct. It wasn't because we were eating bugs back then.
It's just like it's look, that's a theory. It's like maybe they ate the flies that landed on the meat or whatever. Maybe they ate the maggots out. Maybe they ate the maggoty meat.
To be fair, there are tribes of people that do eat bugs.
Yeah, I'm not saying nobody has ever eaten bugs for sure, and that like bugs can't be a source of protein. I'm not saying that. I'm saying this whole argument is clearly it's clearly a propaganda piece to like make people kind of like more receptive to the idea of having bug as a major protein source and decreasing their meat consumption. Like that's clearly what they're targeting here. And I'm looking at this like that. It's so crazy that they'll brazenly call it a conspiracy theory in the first sentence. And by the time you get to the middle of it, they're like, actually,
I mean,
bugs is more natural.
We got folks that are chaining themselves to duck conveyor belts. You're telling me we're imagining there's some conspiracy?
Yeah, dude. Why? I don't know, man. I don't get the. It's like and like trying to pretend like it's not good for you to eat meat is insane. Like that. Like try to be like, oh well, it's not. It's not actually because there's no discussion. By the way, there's no discussion of health benefits really in that article at all. It's all about eating meat is politically right wing.
It's impractical just to rely on bugs. Okay, like you know how many bugs you have to raise compared to just hey, I can raise up this cow and just eat that, and then look how much meat we get from this one cow.
Yeah, we're gonna have to raise a lot of fucking bugs
or sausage or whatever. Like it is so much more economical and so much more. It is far more economical. You're just spending so much less energy to kill an animal and subsist off of that for a few weeks than it is to try to raise enough maggots in order to provide for like one bowl of whatever. It's ridiculous.
Well, these are the same people who demonize farming too, right? So they'll tell you.
Makes no sense to me.
Yeah, they think farming's such a bad idea or whatever, and you can just grow plants all day. When growing the plants takes more resources for you to destroy the natural environment and do all kinds of shit.
Veganism is way more environmentally impactful than any kind of meat eating period.
Yeah, well, because the other thing too, your avocados don't naturally grow all year long for you to have. So
bananas, apples, like there used to be such a thing as seasonal fruit. There isn't anymore because you can grow it anywhere and import it here. That is an invention of the modern world. And it's pretty awesome if you're not an asshole and you're actually grateful for, the sacrifices that people have made before you, and you're grateful for the world that you're living in that other people have created so that you don't have to go hungry. You never have to go hungry. And you get food that our ancestors never had access to in 1,000 years. There's a reason that they decided, because having citrus on ships was meant to stave off scurvy. It sucked for the people who didn't have that for the longest time. Like, imagine how much worse off we'd be if we didn't have this free market system that allowed us to eat whatever we wanted. It's awesome. I love living in the world.
No, what are you talking about? We don't need farms. We don't need this. I mean, we have grocery stores. Just go to your grocery store and you can get your food.
Yeah.
I wish you were meaning that is literally
By the way,
what people have said.
to bring things full circle, capitalism is the reason our poor people are so fat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. That's
and,
great. That's
and
only. By the way, this is one of the only human societies in the history of civilization, the history of humans ever existing, where our biggest problem is that our poor are too fat, not that our poor are starving to death.
What an awesome problem to have.
Seriously. Oh, shit. All right, folks. Well, listen, it has been almost 2.5 hours we've been doing this. We're just going to do our outros real quick, and then we're going to get out of here. Thank you very much to the audience for showing up. Let's start with you, Vagabond. What kind of stuff are you up to when cats are not sleeping on your head? What do you get up to?
Well, later on today, I will be, after the stream, I'm going to get me a big-ass burger. It's probably for McDonald's, so people can complain more ways.
You got a little bit of a drive for yourself going, right?
Yeah, but or I might get chicken wings. I'm gonna eat some type of meat that no bugs. But other than that, later tonight I will be on Anime for the Homies, and then tomorrow on my channel on Rumble, Odyssey, Kick, and YouTube on my channel, the Runaway Vagabond. I swear it's not hentai podcast, where we go talk about anime and weird obscure anime that's in the top of my head, and I scare some of the panel. Tune in tomorrow.
All right. And Strider, what kind of stuff are you getting into?
Yep. So we're going to be back with the weekly Rogues Gallery sometime in the next week or so. So definitely find me on that. Also find me here on Touch Grass, and also spamming your chat when you do Theocracy.
Excellent. All right. And Drunken Emerald Arrow, 99 overall producer. What kind of stuff do you get up to nowadays?
Well, tonight at 7 p.m. PST over on my channel is insert title here. It's going to be a free-for-all show because we're going to just kind of look over some posts of people in their costumes, some that are appropriate, some that maybe aren't quite appropriate. But then you can also find me on Tuesday at 6 p.m. PST on my channel for Nerds Covering the News. Then on Thursdays at 6 p.m. PST over on Double Made Me Do It's channel is Make Me a Sandwich, which is the new date and time. But I have added something to my portfolio besides Rumble, X, and YouTube. You can now find me over on Five Minds. It's a new platform for memes created by Liberal Hive Mind. Something he's been working on for the last 2 years.
Very cool.
Follow me over there. They have a lot of it functions similar to X. It has memes, clips, and takes. The takes is more like an X. And then it's just memes.
Very cool.
Very cool. Over there, and that is fivemind.com.
Very cool. All right, folks. Well, my name is Theo Snodgrass. I am a comedian and podcaster out of Las Vegas, Nevada. If you want to catch me on this show, this show is Touch Grass with Theo Snodgrass, 11 a.m. Pacific time on Saturdays. I also do Theocracy. We're still trying to figure out what the fuck I'm doing with Theocracy. That is my solo show. I do it during the week. It could be in the morning. It could be in the middle of the day. It could be afternoon. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with it. We're going to figure it out. That's still happening. So tune into Theocracy. Catch up on some old episodes if you'd like to. And also, if you want to see me do live comedy, I'm going to be out at Buck's Tavern on November 5th. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm all over Las Vegas doing stuff. I don't have time to update people on the show. So if you really want to know what I'm up to, follow me on X, follow me on Instagram. That's probably the best way to figure out what's going on. Most importantly, follow me on YouTube. That way you can keep up with all my stuff. We've got a lot of content we're still trying to roll out. So got a big backlog of video I got to go through. It's going to be a lot of fun. But anyway, thank you so much for coming with us on this very special journey. It was very awesome hanging out with you guys. Now, please enjoy the intro to my other show as the outro to this show. Little advertisement. Take care, everybody.